For years ago, Dr. Skinner, the greatest genius in the world, invented a miracle medicine called Hapna. It was the ultimate painkiller that made humans completely immune to any sort of pain, and since it was cheap and had no side effects at all, it instantly conquered the global pharma market. Hapna became the medicine that saved the world, but then one day, Skinner vanished without a trace, and no one knew what he was planning. Unbothered by any of this, 23-year-old Axel Gilbert is currently serving a sentence of 888 years in prison for a whole lot of crimes. He doesn't seem to be bothered by it at all, and one morning as he is doing his regular gymnastics routine, the prison guard tells him that he has a guest. The guard leads Axel to the meeting area, where a middle-aged woman named Hirsch is waiting for him. Axel has never seen her before, so he asks her if she is a lawyer trying to get fame by helping him, or if she is a hitman sent to silence him. Hirsch tells him that she is a bit of both, but that is not important. She tells Axel that she is here to ask a favor of him, and if he agrees to help her, he will be a free man. Axel is curious about what she wants, and Hirsch asks him if he knows about Hapna and Dr. Skinner. She tells him that Skinner vanished 3 years ago, but now, he is suddenly back and his single message has sent the world into chaos. Hirsch shows Axel a video that is simultaneously uploaded on every platform in the world, and in that, Skinner declares that if one cannot feel pain, he is basically dead. He calls humanity a dead species because of its dependence on Hapna, and says that he always felt that humans were a terrible species that focused only on short-term gain and destroyed their environment in the process. He declares that humans do not deserve to keep on living and spreading misfortunes wherever they go, and that is why he developed Hapna. Skinner says that Hapna was never just a painkiller. He had specifically engineered it to remain in the human body once it was consumed, and after waiting for 3 years, it would turn into a poison that would kill anyone without fail. There is no way to remove the toxin from the body, and humans will start dying after 30 days. However, before ending his message, Skinner says that he has a cure for Hapna, and if someone can find him within 30 days, humanity can still be saved. This video creates panic and chaos throughout the world, but Axel couldn't care less about it. Hirsch tells him that she knew Skinner personally, and in the past, he was truly a saint. She tells him that the favor she asks of him is to find Skinner. But just then, the prison guard arrives there to take Axel back to his cell as visiting time is over. Axel gets up, pretending to cooperate, but then he suddenly pushes the guard back. The guard draws his gun in response, but Axel uses his acrobatics to disarm and then knock him down. He then picks up the gun and points it at Hirsch before the rest of the guards can do anything. Using her as a hostage, he gets the guards to take off his handcuffs and then makes a run for it, jumping over delivery robots and avoiding the guards trying to capture him. One guard grabs his legs so Axel throws him 2 stories below, and then climbs up another floor where more cops come to stop him. Axel easily beats them and then jumps across the railing, going to another part of the prison to escape, but another guard is waiting there for him. The guard presses his throat against the metal railing, but then Axel pulls on his necktie, slamming his head on the metal and escaping. After knocking down a few more guards, Axel climbs up the prison walls and shoots the grills of an air vent to open a path for himself. He reaches the roof of the prison facility using the vents and starts running away, but Hirsch calls her driver Doug to follow him and makes sure he is caught. Doug and Hirsch begin chasing after Axel in their high-tech car, and she orders their tech support Elena to keep an eye on all police communication and GPS in case they find Axel before them. In the meantime, chaos begins spreading throughout the world after Skinner's video was revealed. Riots have started in many places with people setting pharma companies on fire because of their anger at Hapna. Even as the US government and all the governments across the world gather their best scientists to analyze Hapna and find a cure, the hope of finding a cure within 30 days remains very faint. All the pharma companies recall Hapna from their outlets and the global share markets fall terribly, but none of these things concern Axel, who is just chilling on the streets like he didn't just escape from prison. A cop suddenly stops him because of his prison uniform, but Axel just tells him that it is the latest fashion trending amongst youngsters like him. The stupid guy totally believes him, and by the time he gets a report about a prisoner breaking out of jail, Axel is already in a clothing store to get a fresh outfit. Meanwhile, in the city of Babylonia, a high-ranking government official tells Hirsch that they are trying to analyze Hapna, but even the collective efforts of world's best scientists are not enough in front of Skinner's genius. Hirsch says that their only option is to find Skinner, and she has almost assembled her dream team for it, but the last guy is currently on the run. She promises that she will find him by the end of the day, and the official tells her that her team might be humanity's last hope. A few hours later, as Axel is strolling through a railway station, the security cameras identify him as the fugitive, and all the screens immediately display his picture while telling him to surrender. He takes that as a challenge and begins running through the station, dodging the cops and security drones. However, Elena, the tech support, is notified about that, and she immediately contacts the rest of Hirsch's team about Axel's location. As Axel is out parkering away from the station, the biker girl Chris rides towards his location, while Doug goes to pick up Leland, the last member of their team. Axel jumps through buildings and rooftops, dodging and smashing the drones on his way, but Elena predicts place he will go in 5 minutes, and Doug asks Chris to be ready there. He tells her to steer Axel to the north, and tells her that she has the permission to open fire on him, and that is all Chris wants to hear. She waits for Axel to finish showing off his acrobatic skills as he reaches the roof of a building through a construction zone, and as soon as he is in her range, she starts shooting at him. She deliberately misses to make him run away from her to a place where Doug is already waiting for him. Doug tells Leland to support him with the drone, and then climbs up a building. Soon, Axel reaches the rooftop of the same building with no place to jump to, and Doug points his gun at him, telling him to stop immediately. Axel puts his hands up and tries provoking him so that they engage in a close-range fight, but Doug already knows about his tactics. He tells Axel that his taunts won't work and asks him to surrender because there is no way out for him now. However, Axel tells him that there is always a way, and then jumps from the roof. Doug panics because he was not expecting that, but then Axel grabs Leland's drone and uses it to land safely on a truck. He gets on the ground without any problem, but just as he is about to escape, Chris calls out to him, clicking his pictures cheerfully. She acts like a fan, saying that he just gave the most impressive parkour performance she has ever seen in her life. She demands a selfie with him, and being a closeted simp, Axel can't say no to her. However, that turns out to be his only mistake as Chris stuns him using her bracelet, and Axel is knocked out cold. When he wakes up the next day, he finds himself in a barber's shop with Elena hiding in a corner. Axel is confused about what is happening, but just then, the rest of the group arrives there. The mirror in front of them turns out to be a screen, and through it, Hirsch welcomes Axel to Team Lazarus, the people who are going to save humanity. Axel immediately tries taking off a bracelet on his hand, but Hirsch tells him that he can't take it off as it is a tracker that will let her know where he is at all times. Axel takes a quick look around the room and finds that everyone has a similar bracelet. He realizes that everyone here is some sort of troublemaker, and Hirsch tells him that this is their golden chance to turn from fugitives into heroes. She asks Axel if he doesn't want to be free man and live however he wants. In response, he just does a handstand to surprise everyone and then jumps towards Chris, stealing her gun before she can realize it. He points it at her head and tells Hirsch to get the bracelet off his hand if she values her team. However, Hirsch is not falling for his tricks again, and she shocks him using the bracelet, making him drop his gun. She then warns Axel that if he tries to remove the bracelet forcefully, it will heat so much that his arm will burn. Also, if something happens to her, all of them are going to suffer the same thing. Axel realizes that she is not bluffing, so he quickly agrees to work with her, and Hirsch is pleased to hear that. She ends the video call from her end, and then Axel says that if they find Skinner, they should sell the vaccine for Hapna for a very high price. Chris agrees with him immediately, but Doug shoots down the idea, saying that they are not here for personal gains but to save the world. Axel replies that being heroes isn't bad either, but before starting, he asks if anyone in the team has ever used Hapna. Turns out all of them used it, either as a medicine or to get high. After that, Doug shows Axel around their base, clearly telling him that he doesn't approve of him. Axel doesn't care about that, but he cares that despite being this world's heroes, their base is a rundown barber shop. However, he soon finds that the appearance of the shop is just a disguise, and it is protected by a powerful electromagnetic barrier. Next, Doug takes him to their garage to show the way to take out their cars, and then they return to do their first team briefing. There, Doug tells everyone about Skinner's life history from his birth to college life, but Chris interrupts him because she thinks that is the boring part. She asks Doug about Skinner's personality because that will help them find more about him than the useless trivia. Doug gets pissed at this, but he still obliges with her request, revealing that Skinner won the Nobel Prize 3 times but donated all the money to charities. He lived humbly and even abandoned the patents on his inventions so that everyone could get them for cheap. After that, Hirsch joins the group and tells everyone that Skinner was a great advocate for peace and equality. He tried to pursue the world leaders multiple times to do better, but he never got the response he wanted. She shows the team a video of Skinner addressing the United Nations General Assembly, warning them that in 3 years, the ice at the North Pole will have suffered irreparable damage. He asked everyone to focus their efforts on protecting the Earth rather than economic growth, but many countries left the meeting in the middle of his speech. After this failed attempt at convincing the world leaders, Skinner suddenly vanished. The team says that Skinner sounds too good to be true, and then Leland digs up some old social media posts where he was caught helping strangers around the world. No one understands why a good man like this is trying to end humanity, but Hirsch says that it doesn't matter. No one has any clues about Skinner's location since he vanished, and she tells the team that they must be the first ones to find him. Suddenly, Elena interrupts her, saying that she might have found a lead about Skinner. The rest of the group immediately leaves their base in their fancy cars, while Elena and Hirsch stay back at the base. Elena tells everyone that 8 years ago, Skinner brought a survival shelter from a company that cannot be reached through calls or internet right now. Hirsch tells Axel and Chris to check out the shelter and asks Doug and Leland to visit the company headquarters. She then orders Elena to access as many security cameras around the world and run facial recognition scans for Skinner, despite the possibility that he might have changed his appearance in the past 3 years. On one side, Chris asks Axel what he was in prison for and how long was his sentence. As soon as he tells her that he has to stay in prison for 888 years, Chris freaks out and pushes him out of the car. She points her gun at Axel, saying that she is not teaming up with a psycho who has such a big prison sentence. Axel asks her to calm down, and Chris asks what kind of horrible crimes did he commit to deserve that sentence. He tells her that he was initially sentenced to just 3 years in the prison, but it got doubled each time he broke out, and before he realized it, it reached the current number. Chris is completely dumbfounded on hearing this, and asks why the hell did he break out of jail so often, and Axel replies that it is his hobby. On the other hand, Leland is curious about how Doug ended up on the team. He replies that he just did some small crimes that landed him in jail, and Leland says that he also did some petty thefts that landed him in trouble. Doug calls him a noob and then tells him that if there is someone who really committed serious crimes in their team, it is Elena, who is a notorious global hacker. Leland doesn't believe him at first because Elena seems a quiet and shy girl to him, but Doug tells him that she is the biggest wild card in their team. Soon after that, Chris and Axel reach Skinner's Apocalypse shelter, and Leland and Doug reach the company's headquarters. They find that both the places look abandoned, unaware that someone is waiting to ambush them at the company office, and the shelter has already been searched by another party. Doug and Leland enter the company's headquarters and find that the computers were working recently. As Leland tries to search around the place, a man takes him hostage and asks Doug to tell him where their boss is. Doug doesn't understand what the man wants when suddenly a fat guy breaks into the building with his gun pointed at Doug, telling the owner of the company to come out if he doesn't want his employees to die. Everyone gets even more confused at this, but then Doug realizes that both the guys here are debt collectors who have business with the owner of the shelter company. On the other hand, Axel and Chris go inside the empty shelter and find that the power generator is still working. They begin searching each room but find nothing, so they continue their search, and then suddenly, they feel that someone is hiding around the corner. They find a man unconscious on a chair with empty bottles of Hapna lying at his feet. They immediately corner him and wonder if he is Skinner after getting plastic surgery, and Axel decides that the only way to find out is to wake him up. However, before they can do that, someone starts shouting in Russian and shooting at them. Axel and Chris hide in a corridor, and then suddenly, another group arrives there, yelling in Mexican and shooting at the Russians. Chris worries about what is going to happen next, but Axel starts enjoying himself. He shows off his pendant, saying that it is his lucky charm that keeps him invincible, and then runs right in the middle of the room, unbothered by the bullet storm. Chris thinks that he is crazy, but she has no choice but to support him in dealing with the gangsters and the cartel members. They manage to knock them all out, and reach the guy unconscious in the middle of shelter, but just then, the DA and the FBI arrive there to arrest their targets. They tell Axel and Chris to drop their weapons, but Axel tells them that he is from Lazarus, and asks them to drop their weapons instead. Everyone gets confused because they have never heard of Lazarus before, and then Chris turns on the lights so that everyone can see what is going on. Just as she does this, the man in the chair wakes up and immediately falls on the ground, apologizing to everyone and promising that he will return their money back. He clings to Axel's leg, begging him to save him, and in return, Axel punches him hard enough to make him bleed. He then does an instant DNA test to confirm that he is not Skinner, and all the parties in the shelter are disappointed. It turns out that the guy was the owner of the shelter company who was hiding from the debt collectors in Skinner's bunker. On the other hand, Leland hits it off with the debt collectors after hearing their stories, and Doug receives a call from Chris telling him what happened at her end. He feels that the search mission is not going to be easy, but he has no idea how difficult it is going to get in just a few minutes. Back at their base, Elena suddenly finds a Skinner on a security camera footage, but then suddenly, thousands of cameras around the world begin showing Skinner's face at the same time, confusing both Elena and Hirsch. Soon, the rest of the team returns to the base, and they find that there are already 100,000 Skinners all over the world, and the number keeps on growing. Doug realizes that someone must have hacked into the security systems and swapped the faces with Skinner, but Elena tells him that it is much more complex than that. All biometric signs and even the thermal imaging of these people are like Skinner. Elena says that she knows only 3 hackers in the entire world who could pull this off, and she is one of them. Everyone is shocked to hear this, but Hirsch tells Elena to find the location of both the hackers so that they can find which one of them is helping Skinner. She also comes up with a theory that if Skinner is trying to confuse them by pasting his face on random people over the internet, it means that he has not undergone plastic surgery, and he still looks like he was 3 years ago. Hirsch sends Leland and Chris to investigate Skinner's house for clues, while Doug takes Axel with him to meet his college professor who had worked with Skinner on some projects. Axel fakes his excitement about it, and then begins complaining that he would much rather team up with the blondie than him, and Doug returns the sentiment. Chris and Leland soon reach Skinner's house, pretending to be workers from a house-cleaning factory. However, a huge crowd has already gathered there, and the cops stop them from entering. Leland simply tells them that if they send them back without doing their job, there will be a cancellation fee, and he is going to send an invoice to them. The cops can't fight against the fear of capitalism, and they let the 2 of them enter the house. Leland and Skinner try to find anything they can while pretending to clean the house, but the only thing they find is a strange pill tucked inside a sofa. On the other hand, Doug finds no clue about his professor at the hospital where he used to work. He learns that the professor has retired, and some rumors talk about him going homeless. Axel tells him that this is his area of expertise and he can find the professor if he is really living on the streets. He takes Doug to a slum under the bridge and tells him about a guy named Jerry whom he befriended in prison. They start asking everyone about Jerry because he is supposed to be the leader of the homeless community, but no one has heard about him. They tell Axel that their leader is a chick named Jill, but as it turns out, Jill is just Jerry after he decided to tweak his hardware and become a woman. Jill is really glad to meet Axel after a long time, and she immediately takes him and Doug to her place, where they ask her about Professor Claude. Jill stops them from saying more because she knows that the people here have already suffered a lot in their lives, and they deserve some privacy. She tells Doug that she can't reveal anyone's identity or location without good reason, and he tells her a story about his college where he punched his racist dean. He was expelled because of that, and Professor Claude was the only one who stood up for him. Doug says that he never got to thank him properly for that, and Jill decides to take him to the old man who is struggling in a game of chess. Doug supports him and helps him get a checkmate in 2 turns, and Claude recognizes him as one of his old students. While they decide to catch up on lost time, a teenager challenges Axel to a game of basketball to hustle some cash from him. Professor Claude takes Doug to his tent, ashamed of how far he has fallen, but that doesn't concern Doug. He asks the old man if he knows anything about Skinner's location, and he replies that they have not talked for years. He tells that while Skinner appeared like an honorable genius to the world, in reality, he was so obsessed with his research that he became blind to everything else. Claude says that he couldn't keep up with the madman, so he cut all ties with him, but he remained jealous of his talent and achievements. In order to outdo Skinner, he faked the results of his experiments, and when the university found out, they fired him, which is how he ended up here. He suddenly remembers that Skinner once talked at length about the baklava his grandmother made, and how she lived in a small village in Istanbul. Claude doesn't know if the woman is still alive, but that is enough for Doug to count this mission as a success. He gets up, thanks Claude for standing up for him in the past, and then leaves to find Axel, who has been humbling the arrogant teen for the last 15 minutes. Seeing the look on Doug's face, Axel realizes that he got a clue, and they leave to their base. Once they reach the base, they try searching for Skinner's grandma, but there is no information about her online. Doug suspects that it was erased intentionally, but there is no way to prove that. Suddenly, Elena finds a suspicious location where the crime rate is quite high, but no security cameras are active there. Doug thinks that it can be the place where Skinner is hiding, but Leland and Chris think that it might be a trap. Axel says that the only way to find the truth is to go to the place, and they take the hypercube to Istanbul. Axel and Leland go to the field, and the Lazarus team dresses up as a sheik in order to blend in but stands out even more. Axel doesn't care about that because it only makes his plan of creating trouble and getting attention easier, and soon, they are surrounded by a local gang. Axel tells Leland that they need to run, but he finds it difficult to do that in his long, flowing gown. Axel comes to rescue him and knocks down a couple of guys before pulling him along. He climbs on a moving bus and then jumps over the tin roofs to escape, but Leland has never done anything like that before, and he falls through a roof, right into the room of a girl playing with her dolls. The dumb girl thinks that Leland is the prince of her stories and invites him to play with her, but then the gangsters come there looking for him. They try to take off his bracelet, thinking it is an expensive watch, and when it doesn't come out, they get ready to chop off his hand. At the same time, Axel also starts looking for him, but then Leland screams that he was just here to eat Grandma Belinda's baklava, and that causes the gangsters to immediately stop their attempts to cut his hand because they know that the old lady's pastries are to die for. The gangsters safely escort Leland and Axel to Belinda's place, and she gives them their share of baklava to send them on the way. She then invites her guests inside, trying to explain that the boys from the hood are just misguided and not bad people. After that, she gives them her famous baklava, and they realize that it is really the best in the world. She then asks them who they are, and Axel decides to be honest with the old lady. He tells her that they are secret agents, and Belinda turns out to be a James Bond fan. She accepts the story that Axel tells her and asks if they are here to ask about her grandson. She says that it has been years since she saw him or talked to him, and she never made any attempts to keep their connection hidden as well. She starts telling the boys about her grandson fondly, and then Leland notices a peculiar flower variety that is found only in some special parts of the world. Belinda tells them that Skinner gave it to her in the past. She also tells them that he sent her a video message 3 years ago when he disappeared, and then decides to show it to them. The message has nothing special about it, and Leland says that Skinner doesn't look like the kind of guy who would one day commit the worst massacre in human history. Just then, Belinda tells them that she has got a new batch of baklava ready, and while Leland loses his focus on hearing that, Axel begins looking around the room. He is sure that there is a video camera somewhere in the house because Skinner would know people would come to see his grandma, and he would want her to be safe. He quickly finds the camera and tells Skinner to remember his face because he is the guy who will bust his ass. At the same time, in the Lazarus headquarters, Elena finds the trace of one of the hackers, and she decides to return to her glory days to catch him. Soon, the rest of the team assembles at the base, and Hirsch tells them that the hacker they are looking for is called Dr. 909. Cyber cells all over the world have failed to locate him for years, but Elena managed to find his hidden crypto wallet's details. She explains that there have been some shady transactions in the wallet recently, just before Skinner appeared with his message. A large amount of money was deposited in Dr. 909's account by a stock trader named Sam, and everyone is surprised because the amount is quite big by any standard. Hirsch says that Sam owns some Hapna stocks that he sold just before Skinner's message was released and the stock value crashed. He deposited that money in 909's account, which means both of them are connected to Skinner in some way. Elena adds that when Skinner disappeared 3 years ago, all traces of his existence were wiped out, and that would not have been possible without a master hacker's help, and that hacker must have been 909. Doug thinks that 909 helped Skinner in exchange for info on Hapna, and Sam is just the hacker's partner who cashed out the stock before its value fell. Hirsch agrees with that theory and Axel says that now they just have to capture 909. However, since that is not going to be easy, Hirsch tells the team to capture Sam first while Elena keeps an eye on 909's wallet. They immediately start searching for info on Sam and find that he is a stock trader who likes to throw diddy parties at his club. Everyone cringes on seeing his social media, but in the end, they have to go to his party to get close to him. Since the only thing they know about Sam is that he likes to be surrounded by women, the group makes Leland dress up as a girl to increase their odds. Meanwhile, Elena finds something really suspicious while researching 909's hidden wallet. She discovers that the deposits into his account were made all over the globe, and what is more surprising, they were made using cash. Hirsch thinks that 909 hired people around the world to transfer the money to him, but Elena says that it doesn't make any sense. She explains that 909 would have to meet the people personally and give them an access device so that they can make the deposit. Hirsch tells her to check the security cameras for the items where the deposits were made, and she starts looking into it. She finds that the person making the deposits has completely covered his face, and she can't even tell if it is the same person in all the videos. Back in the club, Axel and others get entry to the party and Doug tells the girls that their mission is to catch Sam's eye and get an invite to his private area. He tells them that once they are in the private zone, they should lure him somewhere secluded. Leland nervously asks what happens if they fail in doing that, and Axel replies they will just kick some ass and kidnap Sam using force. Doug immediately shoots down the idea because they can't risk creating a scene here. With that, they enter the party floor and Chris immediately forgets about the mission because the party looks lit. She gets excited and hits the dance floor, while Leland nervously hides because he is not comfy with cross-dressing just yet. In the meantime, Doug and Axel scope out the security of the club. Axel tries going to the upper floor, but the guard stops him because he doesn't have VIP access. Just then, a bunch of guys arrive there, and their leader shows a glowing tattoo to the guard that allows him and his friends access to the VIP zone. They return to share the information they have collected, and then Axel goes to Chris who is ordering expensive cocktails at the bar. Just then, a drunk guy with a VIP tattoo comes there for a drink and Axel follows him, while Chris rizzes up the bartender to get info about Sam's arrival. Axel follows the drunk guy into the washroom and knocks him out before scanning his tattoo, and at the same time, Doug goes to Leland and asks him why the hell is he hiding in a corner when he is supposed to be acting like a thought and attracting attention. Leland tells him that he is too shy to dance alone and asks Doug to accompany him, and he has no choice but to play along. They enter the dance floor and Doug immediately steals all the attention with his wacky moves. Leland gets nervous on seeing this, but then suddenly, his cute looks get someone's attention. At the same time, Chris is complaining to Axel that she danced her ass off, but no one picked her. Just then, they get a call from Leland that he was picked and Axel says that maybe Leland is really the better looking one, and that pisses Chris off. Anyway, she joins Leland and enters the VIP area just as Sam arrives. They try to suck up to him, but he is as obnoxious and arrogant as they thought, and they can barely act interested in him. Leland doesn't even want Sam to touch him, so he moves aside when he tries to put his arm around him. While this rubs Sam the wrong way, his DJ for the night takes an interest in the innocent-seeming Leland. He takes him to the corner and tries making his move, but just then, a waiter comes there and tells him that it is time for him to take the stage. The DJ reluctantly leaves but asks the waiter to keep an eye on his girl so that she doesn't escape. At the same time, Axel uses the copied VIP tattoo to get access to the higher floor, but the guards get alerted because they figure out that he stole the tattoo from someone. Back in the VIP area, Sam makes all the girls play a drinking game, but the drink was roofied, and they all pass out. He tells his homies to do whatever they want to these gold diggers as he tries to put his hands on Chris, but surprisingly, the drugs have no effect on her. She throws Sam on the ground and then completely obliterates him in hand-to-hand combat as his buddies watch. She then kicks him with full strength and Sam falls down from the VIP area, landing on top of his DJ. On the other hand, Elena finds that another transaction has just happened in 909's wallet and the location is near their city. She examines the security footage and finds the man going to the roof of a nearby building. Elena switches to a different camera as she finds the guy walking towards a helicopter on the roof and she manages to get a clear image of the man who turns out to be the DJ named Visionary. Elena now understands that the reason Visionary could make all these deposits from around the world was because he was on a world tour. She immediately contacts the team and tells them to arrest Visionary because he is their lead. Axel and Doug, who are just about to be arrested by the guards themselves, take this as their clue and start throwing hands, stealing weapons from the guards in the process. Sam and Visionary notice this and immediately run towards the helicopter. Meanwhile, Leland also escapes during the chaos, but the waiter chases after her, so Chris shoots the waiter down and rescues him. Soon, more guards arrive there, and a gunfight between them and Team Lazarus starts. Axel notices that Sam and Visionary are trying to escape in their helicopter, and Leland immediately moves to bring their car around. Axel and others dash towards the helicopter to stop their targets, but the guards are blocking their way. Axel uses Chris as a prop, making her shoot the guards after he runs out of bullets, but by that time, Sam's helicopter has already taken off. Axel is not about to let him go away so easily, so he leaps from the building and grabs the helicopter, much to everyone's shock. Sam orders his helicopter's AI to shake Axel off, but the AI refuses to do such a thing, so he kicks it hard, causing it to malfunction. The helicopter loses balance and starts nosediving towards the city, and Axel somehow avoids a crash by using his legs to change its direction. Meanwhile, Leland and Doug are in the car, chasing after the helicopter. As soon as they see it crashing, Leland sends his jet drone to rescue Axel, who lets go of the helicopter to avoid hitting a crane. Luckily, the drone catches him just in time, and Leland tells him that he has got a gift for him too. Axel pulls out a gun from the drone, and then Leland sends him towards Sam's helicopter, who is confident that he has shaken off all the pursuers. However, when he sees Axel pointing a gun at him from the window, he freaks out and orders his helicopter to ram into him. The AI once again refuses to do so, and Sam kicks the helicopter, causing it to lose balance yet again. Axel dodges the helicopter's blade and then shoots it, causing it to lose balance and crash land in the river. Sam and Visionary come out of the helicopter, but then Axel lands on top of the debris and points his gun at them. They freak out and beg him to spare them, and Axel immediately asks for any information they have about Skinner. They tell him that they don't know anything, and Axel asks how the hell did they know to sell happiness stocks before the announcement then. Visionary tells Axel that he is the hacker named Dr. 909, and he hacked into the company to find some information that is still stored in his pendant. Axel asks for the pendant, and while Visionary refuses to give it to him, Sam snatches it and passes it to Axel, who kicks the debris down and leaves them to drown. By the time Axel and others reach their base, cops rescue and arrest Sam and Visionary for hacking and insider trading. Doug says that this mission was a bust because these two guys had no relation with Skinner, but Alina says that on the bright side, they got to know that Hapna's parent company, Delta Medicine, knew that their stocks were going to fall. She is sure that they were aware of Hapna's dangers before Skinner's announcement, and that means they are their next cue. They begin forming their theory, and Doug says that Delta Medicines was responsible for the clinical trials of Hapna, so they must know exactly how dangerous Hapna was. Meanwhile, Alina keeps sorting through the files on Visionary's pen drive, and among them, she finds a picture of someone's eye reflecting the stars. No one knows what it means, but Axel thinks it is not important. He suggests that maybe Delta Medicine was conspiring with Skinner, and they faked all the test results. Hirsch says that it doesn't matter because the damage is already done, and now they have to find the connection between Skinner and Delta. Just then, Alina finds something strange in the data. She says that someone from Delta has been uploading music to SoundCloud weekly, and the weird part is the music itself. She plays one file, and it sounds like a slinky being thrown downstairs. Well, Doug realizes what is happening and tells Alina to open the audio as an image. She does that quickly, and the file opens up as a document containing the true record of the clinical trials. Hirsch immediately identifies it, but that makes Doug suspicious about her involvement with Delta. Luckily, Chris comes up with a question that takes everyone's attention away. She asks why would someone from Delta be so stupid to upload the trial results on SoundCloud. Alina says that maybe they were sharing the data with someone who wanted to remain hidden, and everyone immediately thinks that it has got to be Skinner. They soon head to the place where the guy who uploaded the music lives, and Leland tries to snoop in on him using his drone. However, the security around the building is tight, and the drone is deactivated mid-flight by a strong electromagnetic field. Chris is watching the place from a tall building, and she reports that they can't even jump to the rooftop using nearby buildings because there is no building taller than this one. Doug adds that the underground parking is also fully automated and not connected to the main building, so they can't find a way through there either. Axel says that one of them should throw a harness towards the building and swing like Spider-Man, and Chris actually likes the idea. However, Doug tells them to stop being idiots and orders that they will wait till nightfall. However, Axel is not in mood to take orders, and he simply walks towards the building. Chris tells him to stop because the building is full of security guards, but he just gives her a wink before entering inside. He uses his smartphone to open the security door and acts suspiciously on purpose, getting the full attention of all the guards in the building. They chase after him, and just as Axel stops in front of the elevator, they surround him on all sides. Axel knows what is coming next, so he just smirks to himself and gets inside the elevator with all the guards. Even before the door closes, one of the guards begins to make his move on Axel, but he stops him because this is not the Pride Month yet. As the door closes, the guards attack him with their batons and tasers, but they are no match for his skill. Axel dances around them, using them against each other in the cramped space, but then the female guard gets on top of him and tries strangling him with her baton. In response, Axel begins pulling her necktie to choke her instead, and after a while of seeing who can choke each other better, Axel manages to get the bitch off of him. Just then, other guards get back up and attack him, but he knocks them out using the baton. Everyone stays down, but the bitch gets up to do her job again, but Axel once again chokes her with the tie and then walks out of the elevator like nothing happened. He soon reaches the living room of the president of the Delta Company, who is trying to stay awake quite badly. Axel walks behind him and points his cell at his head to make it look like a gun. He tells the man to shut down the security system of his building, and he obeys because of fear. Once the security system is down, Alina hacks into it immediately and Axel shows the guy the clinical trials of Hapna. He panics on seeing this and asks how did he get this data, and Chris pops up on the screen, telling the president that he uploaded it himself. The man starts bargaining for his life with money, but Axel just wants to know Skinner's location. The president sighs, saying that he is the one who is the most desperate in searching for Skinner. However, he has no clue about his location, and that is why they were using the audio files to send him their data. Doug then asks the president if he knew that Hapna would mutate into a poison after 3 years, and he replies that he had no idea because then he would never have sold the medicine. Doug asks him if he at least confirmed that Hapna is lethal, and the president replies that before they did the clinical trials on humans, they did them on chimps. He says that one of the chimps died a few days ago, and now he can never see the gorilla versus 100 men showdown. He adds that when the chimp died, his eyes became discolored and showed a pattern like a starry night. The president says that humans will be next, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. The researchers at Delta Medicine have put all their time and resources into developing an antidote, but they couldn't even figure out Hapna properly. He says that Skinner is the devil himself, and Axel says that they are the angels that will kick his ass down to hell. He declares that he has a plan that will lure Skinner out for sure. The plan is to declare that Delta Medicines has found a cure for Hapna, and Hirsch goes to her boss to inform him about it. She says that if Skinner knows that a cure for Hapna has been discovered, he will surely come to see if it is real, and then they can catch him. The boss realizes that this is a desperate attempt, but he permits Hirsch to go ahead with it while he makes a paper airplane out of her report. Soon, the preparation for the press conference to declare Hapna's fake cure starts at Delta Medicine. Axel and the rest of the team are on security duty, wondering if Skinner will show up in person, or will he try to use a hacker to find what is going on here. Axel says that maybe he will send a team of mercenaries to break into the building, or he will have an agent on the inside. The president of Delta brings the chief of his security to tell Hirsch that they have checked everything and made sure that there are no traps or bugs in the building. The security chief adds that his men have had their backgrounds checked quite thoroughly, so none of them can be a spy as well. Axel is curious what happens in case Skinner hires a hacker, and finds they are lying, and Hirsch tells him that it is Elena's job to stop that. Soon, the team gathers in the security room, where Elena tells them about the 2 types of networks of the Delta Company. One of them is the core network, which handles the confidential information, and the other is the basic network that does the regular data sharing work. She says that the core network is completely isolated from outside attacks physically, so hackers can't get in. But that also means that they can't use their smartphones inside the building, and they need to go old school if they have to call each other. Axel doesn't even pay attention to Elena's lecture and keeps stretching in the background. But she says that since they made the security too tight, any good hacker will take it as a challenge and try to enter the core network. She reveals that she has made the defenses of the basic network weak to lure in the hacker, and once the hacker is in, she will catch them. Soon, the guests start coming, and all of them have to go through a strict security check before entering the building. Doug and Hirsch keep an eye on the situation as well. And then they see a fat guy fumbling the security test because he forgot to deposit his gaming console. Doug gets suspicious of him and asks Hirsch to find out about him. She says that the man is called Patrick, and he is an associate professor at MIT, and one of Skinner's colleagues mentored him when he was in college. This makes Doug sure that something is wrong, and he decides to keep a closer eye on Patrick and follows him to his seat. Meanwhile, the president of Delta Medicines also prepares himself to fight against Skinner. When the meeting starts, he proudly introduces the fake antidote to Hapna, and his team begins explaining how it works. But some people get nervous on hearing this. A guy leaves for the washroom because of a stomach ache, and Doug tells the guards to keep an eye on him. Just then, Elena gets a hit on the trap she had set, and she immediately tracks the hacker's location to the Arctic. She tries finding more about him but finds that he has cleverly hidden it from everyone. Just then, the lights go out in the conference room, and Elena realizes that the hacker has not targeted the building from the outside, but from the inside. She tells everyone to find the hacker quickly and also bring back the electricity. Axel immediately goes after the guy who went to the toilet, but the poor old man was really just dropping a log in the toilet. In the meantime, Leland and the guards check the electricity control room and they find no problem there as well. This confuses everyone, but then suddenly, a guy starts running towards the stage in the conference room. He smashes the case in which the fake cure is being displayed and injects himself with it, laughing that now he is not going to die. The guards tackle him and arrest him, but the man tells them that he doesn't care because now Delta Medicines can't monopolize the cure. Doug bursts his bubble by telling him that the medicine was just saline solution with green food coloring and then shuts the door on his shocked face. It turns out that the hacker is a plus-sized girl sitting in a cozy room. She goes all out and makes the escalators, the doors, and even the taps go out of control. Elena quickly reprograms the system to stop her, and the hacker gets even more excited about beating her now. She raises the temperature in the control room by hacking the AC, and when the workers open the door to get out, she gets further inside the system. The hacker gets into the core network, and Elena finds that they are being attacked from 50 different points. She immediately realizes that it is the same number as the guards and concludes that they are being hacked through their walkie-talkies. Axel confronts the chief of security about it, and he replies that the manufacturer of the walkie-talkie recently recalled the previous batch because of some error and sent them the new ones with better features instead. Elena's theory is verified, but she still doesn't know how to stop the hacker, but then she decides to use her secret weapon. She stops protecting the core network and reveals a fake antidote formula for the hacker to steal. However, the formula contains a virus that tells her that the hacker is located in the Pakistan Stock Exchange and is using the high bandwidth to attack them. Hirsch immediately uses her contacts to get the Pakistan police to raid the stock exchange, but it is completely empty because it is midnight and the hacker is actually traveling in a van. She heads to the mountains after succeeding in her mission and opens the cure formula file, but the virus completely takes over her laptop, so she decides to ditch it. Once she does that, Elena can't track her anymore and she loses hope. Luckily, the building's system returns to normal because of that. Elena is depressed because she lost against the hacker, but just then, she receives a call from the same hacker, who turns out to be Popcorn Wizard, the third legendary hacker who is on the same level as her. Elena nervously picks up the call and Popcorn Wizard gives her major props for almost busting her. She tells her to try better next time and cuts the call, but that gives Elena to do her best going forward. The next day, Doug comes to their base with an old magazine and Chris asks if he found it in his grandfather's stash because no one uses paper anymore. Doug tells her that this is a spiritual magazine from 15 years ago, and it talks about a researcher from MIT visiting a communion. That researcher is none other than a young Skinner, and everyone is surprised to see him. Hirsch picks up the magazine and reads that Skinner, a young and relentless researcher, was heavily impressed by the ideals of the communion. She drops the magazine just after reading that, and Axel asks if this is some sort of clue. Doug explains that the communion that Skinner visited is a full-blown religion now, and it is called the Tower of Truth. Elena gets startled on hearing that name but tells Doug to continue with his presentation. He says that the Tower of Truth worships an AI software that they believe has achieved perfection and reached godhood. Everyone thinks that it is a stupid idea to call an AI software a god, but Doug continues his report, saying that the followers of the Tower of Truth claim to live happy lives, but they are completely isolated from the outside world. He says that their base looks like the perfect place for Skinner to hide, but Axel bets that he won't be there. In response, Leland bets that they can find Skinner at the base, but Hirsch tells them to shut up. She then asks Elena if she can hack into the AI system of the tower. Elena refuses, saying that Naga is completely isolated from the outside world so she can't access it. Doug asks what is Naga, and she replies that it is the name of their AI software, and she knows about it because she grew up in the Tower of Truth. This is a surprise for everyone, but then Hirsch says that if they can't access the system from outside, they need to infiltrate it. Elena says that if she tells the people there that she wants to return home, they will gladly accept her. Chris and Doug are against her going alone because it will be too dangerous for her, and they suggest that she take someone to support her inside. Elena says that the people at the tower will suspect adults, but if it is kids who want to join them, they will let down their guards. This means Leland has to be Elena's partner, and he has no choice in the matter. Soon after that, Doug and Axel drive the group to the base of the tower, but they stop at a safe distance to avoid being detected. Doug tells Leland and Elena that the three of them will stay at a hotel nearby, waiting for their messages. He asks them to inform them immediately if they find Skinner, and if they don't hear from them within 72 hours, they will carry out a rescue mission. Axel gives Leland a flare for the same, and then Chris asks him to take care of Elena. With that, the two of them head inside the base of the Tower of Truth, where everyone keeps staring at them. Elena keeps her head down because she is still not comfortable with the idea of being back here, but then one of her old friends identifies her. The girl named Hannah comes running to her and tightly hugs her, welcoming her home. Elena introduces her to Leland, and then Hannah leads them to the main temple, where they are welcomed by Carla, Elena's mother. There is clearly a lot of emotional distance between them, but Carla hugs her, claiming that she always knew she would return because the outside world is filthy and evil. Just then, the leader of the cult, Billy, arrives there to welcome Elena and Leland, and says that it must be the blessing of God Naga that they return just in time for the festival. Later, Hannah takes Leland and Elena to the dorm where she confiscates all their electronic items that are connected to the internet. She says that the outside world is full of fake information which easily misleads people, and they should stay away from it. She then says that God Naga will protect everyone here and wishes that the people outside also awaken from their brainwashing. At night, Leland wakes up and goes outside, trying to reach the team using his bracelet, but he can't call them. Elena also comes there and Leland tells her that they need to find another way to communicate with the team because there are jammers all over the place that make using satellite connections impossible as well. On the other hand, Doug contacts Hirsch, asking her to access the files about other researchers that studied in MIT at the same time as Skinner. She says that she will do that, but then warns Doug that the FBI is also on the move, and they are trying to find more about the Tower of Truth. After the call ends, Doug goes outside, where Chris is worried about Elena and Leland, but Axel doesn't give a shit, and he is running laps around the parking lot instead. Back inside the cult, Leland asks Elena about the woman named Carla. He could tell that she was her mother, but he wants to know why they were so awkward. Elena says that in the tower, everyone is considered family, and they have to forget any blood relations for that. She can't even call her mom, but Carla doesn't care because all she thinks about is their AI god. Leland asks about her father, and Elena says that she doesn't even know his name. She begins sulking, saying that Leland must find her weird now, and he can't think of any reply that will make her feel better. The next day, Hannah gives them a tour of the facilities around the cult. She says that everything from food to clothing to tools is made from scratch by the people here. Also, there is no concept of money inside the cult, so they have to rely on the barter system and help everyone in need. After that, they go to have breakfast where Hannah eagerly asks them what did they do in the outside world to earn money. Leland begins telling her that he has a part-time job looking for cats, and he met Elena there. He then suddenly starts recalling the horrible experiences he has had ever since he became a member of Team Lazarus, from being taken hostage to dressing as a girl. Just then, Billy comes there to start the prayer before the breakfast, and then he tells everyone to start eating. Leland hesitates on eating a weird purple soup, but Billy keeps pushing him, and he has to swallow it in the end. On the other hand, Axel is still goofing around while Doug has found more information about the AI system Naga that the Tower of Truth worships. He tells Chris that Naga was a neural network developed at mid-15 years ago. Chris asks what a neural network is, and he explains that it is an AI system based on the activity of a human's brain. The human they based the Naga AI on was none other than Skinner, and they were able to control its ego and other parts of human psychology during the test runs. Doug says that this fact may be irrelevant to their mission, but what is seriously concerning is that the FBI is on the move too, and they need to be faster than them to solve the case. Back in the cult, Leland and Elena have been pretending to be faithful believers, but when they find no clue about Skinner, Leland declares it is time for Plan B. He tells Elena that they need to hack into the Naga system and find any clues they can, but Hannah overhears their discussion. Later at night, Leland and Elena head to the building where the AI core is located, and they can access it through their bracelets. They cut off the power supply, making the guards go outside to check it, and then sneak into the core room. Elena plugs into the Naga system and accesses its memory files, but just then, Billy arrives there because Hannah snitched. Leland grabs Elena's hand and tries to run away, but he finds that they are surrounded on all sides. Billy declares that the two of them are still impure, and on the day of the festival, they will be purified in front of God Naga as a symbol of this world's filth. Meanwhile, Doug receives a file from Hirsch and learns that Billy was actually a researcher in MIT who was working on the Naga AI system. He stole the system from MIT and brought it to the cult, quickly establishing as their new god. After that, he increased his influence on his followers and cut off communication from the outside world. While Doug and Chris wonder what to do with this information, Axel comes there and says that since Naga is a copy of Skinner, maybe it wants to destroy the world too. Back in the cult, Elena and Leland are thrown into a prison cell. He asks her what is the purification and the holy festival that Billy mentioned earlier, and she replies that she has no idea about the festival because it was not started in her time. However, she knows about purification in which people are taken somewhere, and they never return. She thinks that they are exiled, but just then, Hannah comes there and tells her that the sinners are not exiled but burned alive. She tells them that this is what they deserve for breaking the rules and starts walking away. But Elena stops her, asking if she is fine letting her friend die. Hannah suddenly starts saying that she has always been jealous of her. She says that Elena always did what she wanted, while she was trapped here, obeying orders. She suddenly lashes out, throwing dirty water on her, saying that she left her alone here. Elena tells her friend that they can escape this place together this time, but Hannah tells her that she cannot live in the outside world. Elena tells her that she used to think the same too, but now she knows it is not the truth. Hannah refuses to believe her, but then Leland tells her that he has a flare in his back. He says that if she has the courage to take one step towards her freedom, she should use it. But Hannah runs away without giving him an answer. The next day, the holy festival begins and Leland and Elena are tied to the stake to be burned. As Billy yells loudly that the sinners will be purified, the scaffolding is lowered, and the two of them start feeling the heat. However, Hannah takes the leap of faith and uses the beacon, releasing a red smoke that surprises everyone. Axel was constantly watching over the cult base for this, and he tells Doug and Chris that they need to move immediately. As they ride out towards the base, the people in the cult panic, wondering what the red smoke is. The uneducated morons think that this is proof that God Naga is furious, but Billy realizes what is happening, and he tells everyone to follow him to the main temple quickly. Once the people have gathered, Billy presses a self-destruct button, locking down the temple and setting it on fire, telling the followers that today is the day that they offer their souls to their god. Outside, Axel and others reach the cult, and at the same time, the FBI also arrives there. They quickly help Elena and Leland down from the scaffolding, but Elena asks them to do something about the people trapped inside because they are going to die. Inside the temple, Billy is still consumed by his delusions as the fire and smoke causes many people to pass out. He asks God Naga to show him the way, but it is just an AI system at the end of the day, and it falls from its frame because of the fire, and crushes Billy. Soon, the FBI sends its full force to handle the situation and even puts out the fire using helicopters. The injured people are taken away to a hospital, and Elena can just watch as she sees her mother being carried on a stretcher. Nearby, Hannah is also carried out, and Leland runs to her, thanking her for saving them. After everyone has been evacuated, Axel goes inside the temple and finds that the Naga AI has been destroyed. He asks what was its purpose after all, and the AI responds in Skinner's voice, saying that it was given the command to become a god, and for that, it needed to manipulate the lives of humans. Axel is not impressed by the answer, so he calls it a piece of junk and walks away with the memory unit of the AI system, and Doug starts analyzing it as soon as they reach their base. A couple days later, everyone gathers at the roof of their base to enjoy some barbecue. While Chris, Leland, and Doug skewer meat and veggies, Axel works on a device. Chris starts playing a game where she guesses the age of everyone in the team, and she says that Axel looks 28, while Doug looks 40, though both of them are 23. Leland tries to guess her age, but Chris hides it, so he decides to call her auntie just to poke fun at her. When they are done stacking the veggies, Axel decides to start the barbecue using the flamethrower he found in the garage, but instead of lighting up the grill, he blows it up. Anyway, they forget about the little disappointing accident and return to work. While the memory chip from Naga AI is being analyzed, they turn on the TV, and all the channels are displaying the same thing, which is the melting of the last large iceberg in the Antarctica. While the group is not really concerned with the vanishing ice caps and global warming, Leland has something interesting for them. He shows them a video of Skinner when he delivered a speech at the United Nations, and in the speech, he predicted that the ice in the Antarctic will melt in exactly 3 years. He was dead on the money because it is exactly 3 years since the day he made the speech. Everyone is shocked to hear that, and Leland says that more and more people are siding with Skinner online right now. Doug says that World War III is on the table as well because once Skinner made predictions about that too. Chris jokes that maybe humanity will be destroyed by World War III before Hapna can kill everyone, but Leland doesn't find it funny. Just then, Hirsch enters the room and starts a meeting. She says that they are back to square one because the FBI couldn't find anything related to Skinner in the Tower of Truth. Even the AI system modeled after his brain is not connected to him in any way, so they have no lead. Doug says that they should go back to the basics, and while everyone is paying attention to him, Axel is still trying to eat the ruined barbecue. Anyway, they decide to watch the video clip of Skinner again to find his motives. In the video, Skinner declares that he is not here to declare humans as unfit to live, but instead, he is here as the seventh trumpeter. Chris pauses the video and asks what is the seventh trumpeter, and Hirsch explains that it is from the book of Revelation in the New Testament. According to the book, in the future, when God gets angry at humans, he will send all sorts of disasters to earth. The angels will blow their horns to warn humans about it. And when the seventh angel blows his trumpet, the day of judgment will start. Now that everyone is updated on the lore, Chris asks when did the first to sixth trumpets get blown. No one has any answer to the question, but just then, the analyzing device beeps because it has finished processing Naga's memory. Doug goes to check it, but then he grows suspicious as he sees Leland walking out of the room. Soon, all of them gather around the memory chip and wonder what are the numbers being shown on it. Doug can only tell that it is the last thing Naga AI thought of, and everyone has different theories. Axel thinks it is some kind of phone number, and he tries calling it immediately, while Elena tries to decode it in hope to find a hidden message. Doug thinks that it is pointing to some coordinates on the map, and he turns out to be right. The numbers on the memory chip point to 4 locations around the world, but all of them are at the sea. While everyone wonders what this means, Hirsch realizes that all these locations were once islands, and they were predicted to sink as the sea level rises because of global warming. Elena does some research on that online and finds that Skinner bought all these islands before they sank. Everyone wonders why would he go to such lengths, and why would Naga be thinking about that. But Axel says that they should look at the locations to find more about Skinner's plan. Hirsch immediately gets permission from her boss to send the team to the 4 locations because it is the best bet they have, and he agrees but asks her to meet him in private. Soon after that, 4 members of the team head to the 4 locations, while Elena stays back at the base to supervise and coordinate them. Doug goes to Manila in Philippines, which has completely sunk and the water level is rising enough to threaten the areas around it. He ditches his car once he reaches the place where the water has covered the road and then starts out on foot, making deals with junkies in order to reach his destination. On the other side, Axel is in the Maldives, which has also almost sunk. Luckily, he quickly finds a boatman who agrees to take him to the point on the map. Back at the base, Elena gathers all the snacks she can find because there is actually nothing for her to do but relax, and she might as well take a break. Meanwhile, Leland has reached Ishigaki Island in Japan, where he eagerly signals to the workers at the tourism board that he wants to hire a boat for himself. However, the worker points out that he needs a minimum of 10 guests to hire a boat, but there is no one around, so he just begs the lady innocently. At the same time, Chris is in full party mode in Fiji, and she buys an electric boat instead of begging or borrowing. Elena watches their visuals as they head to their positions and everyone reports that they will reach the exact coordinates around 10 minutes. But Chris has already reached her point, so she decides to go scuba diving. However, another high-speed boat passes nearby, causing her to lose her balance, and she wonders what is their deal. Soon, the others also reach their location and find nothing special at first glance. Leland suddenly asks if Team Lazarus will be disbanded once they find Skinner. Doug affirms, saying that once they have achieved their goal, there will be no need for them to stay together, and Leland replies that it seems like a waste. After that, all of them dive into the sea, but they don't find anything. Chris says that it has been so long since she saw a clear sea and blue sky like this, and others agree with her because the city is too polluted and the skies are always gray. She wonders if Skinner wanted them to see how places remain beautiful without humans ruining them. She turns into a philosopher as she floats on the water and begins crying, thinking that humans are about to die soon but the world will remain. On the other side, Axel comes out of the sea too without finding anything. But he notices that his boatman has a fresh injury on his face. He asks him about it, and the boatman replies that a flying fish just hit him. Axel asks if it hurts, and the man replies that ever since he was born, he has been immune to diseases and pain. Axel asks if he has ever taken Hapna, and the boatman tells him that there was no need for that because people around these parts are naturally immune to pain. Axel immediately informs the team about this, and the boatman eagerly tells that when he was little, Skinner came to their island. He bought the island and gave them money to move to a safer place, and they gladly took it. Doug immediately orders Elena to check the cash flow of other islands as well. She soon finds out that Skinner came to the island 15 years ago to take some DNA samples, and he did the same on the other 3 islands as well. Doug says that the DNA is undoubtedly linked to the development of Hapna and asks where was the research on them done. Elena says that it was done at the Hague Research Center, but it is now closed. She decides to find the details of researchers working there at that time. Meanwhile, Axel and Leland begin talking about how they are following Skinner's footsteps, and maybe he wanted them to see the world like he did so they could feel the same way as him too. Doug doesn't truly believe that, but he knows that Skinner has them under his control. At the same time, Hirsch is visiting an art museum with her boss, who wants to talk about some important things. He first apologizes to her because she might think that he is using her feelings for Skinner to keep her on the mission. However, Hirsch tells him that she doesn't feel that way, and she wants to find Skinner no matter what. Her boss then tells her that the federal agencies have started looking into Axel because technically, he is still an escaped prisoner, and Hirsch asks him to do whatever he can to protect Axel because he is necessary for this mission. Soon, they reach a painting titled The Resurrection of Lazarus, and the boss asks Hirsch the main question. He wants to know if she thinks that Skinner sold his soul to the devil or something happened to make him turn evil, but she doesn't agree with that. She says that Skinner is still the same man she always knew. She says that he was always too sincere, and even right now, he is doing things as sincerely as he can. She believes that he also wants to be found because he has not lost hope in humanity, and her boss hopes that she is right. Back at the base, Elena finally gets a list of the researchers working at the research station at the same time as Skinner, and she is shocked to see Hirsch's name on the list. Meanwhile, it is already night at Chris's location, and as she returns from her mission, she spots some people nearby. She doesn't pay them any mind, but then a girl with lesbian haircut walks right in front of her, and she freezes in fear. She tries to walk away as quickly as possible, but the girl stops her and calls her Alexandra with a pitiful expression on her face that quickly turns into a mean smirk. Soon, the rest of the team assembles at the base. Leland is the last one to return from his mission, and he is really surprised to see how gloomy the mood of the room is. He asks where is Chris, and before Hirsch can start telling them about some important news, Doug interrupts her because he has something more important he wants to discuss. He tells Hirsch that they found that Skinner developed Hapna at the Hague Research Institute, and when they tried to find who else worked there at the same time, they found her name. Leland is surprised to see this, but Axel acts like he suspected that Hirsch and Skinner were buddies all along. Doug asks Hirsch if she has a good reason why she kept this a secret from them. She gets up, saying that she knew someone would find out about her past sooner or later. She explains that not only was she working in the same research institute, she was a part of the team led by Skinner that developed Hapna. However, shortly before the miracle medicine was completed, Skinner vanished without a trace, and he didn't even say goodbye to anyone. That incident left her devastated, and she left the research institute shortly after Hapna was completed. And 3 years later, when Skinner reappeared, he brought the news of humanity's end with him. Doug then asks her who she is really working for now, and Hirsch says that she works under the NSA now, and she was chosen to lead this task force because of how well she knows Skinner. Axel realizes that they are not superheroes, but just a team of scapegoats for when things go wrong, and Leland says that he doesn't get what they are talking about, and maybe they should wonder where Chris is. Turns out, Chris has been captured and taken to an abandoned oil rig in the Arctic. As she is tied to a chair and thinks about her situation, a Russian mobster enters the room and starts smacking the shit out of her, calling her a traitor. Just then, the tomboy mommy Inga arrives there and tells him to stop, because she plans to kill Chris with her own hands for running away from their team. Luckily, the team can track her location through the bracelet, and they know that she is at an abandoned oil rig. Leland asks why would Chris go there, and Hirsch says that the oil rig is most likely a base of the Russian intelligence agency, and Chris has been captured by Russian special forces. Everyone is shocked to hear this, but Hirsch has more shocking news about Chris. She reveals that Chris was once a Russian agent too, but she defected and joined Team Lazarus. She changed her name and even had plastic surgeries to change her appearance. But even then, she knew the risk she was taking and asked Hirsch to make sure that her bracelet kills her in 3 days if she loses contact with them. Meanwhile, Inga examines Chris's face and tells her that no matter how many surgeries she gets, she will always recognize her stubborn eyes. She talks about how shocked she was when she heard Chris died in an airport accident 3 years ago. However, since her body was never found, Inga believed that she had actually escaped, and she waited for a chance to find her again. She then tells Chris that she will make her suffer till she dies a slow and agonizing death, and no one will come to rescue her because she is a traitor. Inga couldn't be more wrong as Axel immediately decides to head out to rescue her, despite Hirsch warning him that facing the Russian special forces is a suicide mission. Even when she tries reasoning that Chris might have gone back to the Russians herself, Axel refuses to believe her and sets out immediately. The rest of the team also follows him, and Doug tells Hirsch that if she doesn't like the plan, she can use the bracelets to kill all of them. On the other hand, Chris tells Inga that she has no clue about Skinner because she is sure that her team is also searching for him. Inga doesn't believe her, but then her subordinate pulls her outside and says that they should report this to the headquarters. Inga refuses, saying that this is her personal problem, and this pisses out the who takes out his anger on Chris. Meanwhile, Axel and others reach Norway, but they can't find any connecting flights that will lead them near Chris. They panic because the roads are also closed because of terrible weather, and almost 2 days have passed since Chris vanished, which means they don't have long to save her. As they wonder what they should do, they suddenly get a call from Hirsch, who tells them to wait at the airport because the European Union military will take them to the location by a helicopter. She has also talked with the Norway government, and arranged a place from where Elena can work safely. She then says that this rescue mission is off the records, but she doesn't want to lose Chris. Soon, the helicopter takes them to a research station near the oil rig, and Elena sets up her office there with the help of the researchers. Meanwhile, Axel and others take a ship to the oil rig. They soon reach the location and hide in a ship disguised as a chunk of floating ice. Inside the rig, the big guy keeps beating the shit out of Chris, but she taunts him, saying that a beta male like him can only beat up a tied woman. He gets furious at this and tells Chris that no matter what she says, he won't untie her, and she mocks him further, saying he is smarter than his dumbass face suggests. Outside, Leland sends out his seagull-shaped drone to scout the rig, and finds 6 Russian soldiers standing guard. Axel dives into the water and enters the rig through an unguarded opening following Elena's instruction, and then Doug drives the big ship towards the rig, distracting the Russian agents. As Inga leaves to deal with the ship that has entered their territory, Axel sneaks into the control room and uses his bracelet to grant Elena the access to the personal network. On the other hand, the big guy has had enough of Chris taunting him, and he decides to kill her even if it means going against Inga's orders, but then suddenly, Inga calls everyone on board to deal with the rogue ship heading in their direction. He tells everyone to head out because he is going to deal with the bitch and join them later. At the same time, Axel manages to grant the network access to Elena, and she begins working her magic, much to the amusement of the people at the research station. Immediately after that, the huge ship collides into the oil rig and explodes, shaking everyone off their feet. The muscle-headed bastard is also distracted by this, and taking advantage of this chance, Chris attacks him. He gets even more angry at this and tries slamming her into the wall, but Chris channels her inner Black Widow to use his momentum against him and crashes his throat with a powerful kick before freeing herself. She runs out of the room with that, and Elena spots her. She immediately alerts Axel about her location, and he uses his parkour skills to quickly. But then Chris changes her direction because of some guards in her way. Meanwhile, Elena takes control of the crane on the rig, and uses it to whip away the Russian agents into the sea. At the same time, Axel rushes ahead with Leland backing him up with his drone. Axel manages to take 2 soldiers around the corner down quickly, and then Doug also supports him by sniping the enemies from his boat. One guy tries shooting Doug, but as he follows his boat, his attention suddenly goes to the poorly hidden boat where Leland is hiding. Meanwhile, the big guy spots Axel fighting some of his soldiers, so he waits around the corner to ambush him. He strikes Axel in the head with a metal pipe, knocking him down, and then points his gun at him. Just then, another soldier comes from behind, cornering Axel on both sides, but Leland crashes his seagull drone into the soldier, knocking him out. That is enough to distract the musclehead, and Axel manages to disarm him. However, even then, he struggles in a fist fight against him and gets thrown off the building. At the same time, some soldiers shoot the boat Leland is hiding in, setting it on fire. Leland jumps out right before the boat explodes, and Doug immediately goes to rescue him. Meanwhile, Elena rescues Axel before he can fall into the sea and sends him back to the rig to continue fighting. As he takes down some enemy soldiers with a stolen gun, he suddenly runs into Chris, who collapses just as she sees him. Axel tells her that everyone is here to take her home, and Chris tells him that they shouldn't have come because she doesn't deserve to be saved. Axel replies that he doesn't care about her past, and he is here for the person she is now. He leads her through the building, but then spots some guards in the way, so he asks her to stay back while he deals with them. However, moments after Axel leaves, Inga comes there and points a gun at Chris, saying that she has been dreaming of killing her for the past 3 years. Chris has given up on fighting, and she asks her to shoot because she would be proud to die at the hands of the woman she loved. Inga's resolve is shaken to its core on hearing this, and then Chris tells her that she changed her name and her face, but she couldn't change her heart, and the moment she saw her, she froze. Inga gets emotional as the emotional tension rises between them, and asks Chris why did she run away 3 years ago. Chris tells her that back then, she was really caught in the accident, and her vitals stopped. The doctors put her name on the victims list, but then suddenly, her heart started beating again and she came alive. She thought that if she used the fact that she was registered dead, she could escape the organization and live a normal life. Inga asks why the hell did she not tell her, and Chris replies that if the organization found out about this, they would kill both of them. Inga is completely rattled now, and she thinks about the times when Chris used to ask her to run away with her. While the two of them are having a moment, the pea-brain bastard arrives there and spots them in the act. As the two girls hold hands, he suddenly runs to them, saying that all traitors deserve death. He immediately opens fire, not on Chris, but on Inga first. However, before he can do anything to Chris, Axel arrives there and riddles him with bullets. Just then, Elena loses connection to the network of the oil rig because of the explosions, and she tells Axel to evacuate immediately. He, however, keeps staring at Chris, who cradles Inga as she dies in her arms. She breaks down mentally on seeing her ex-girlfriend die, but the fire is approaching them quickly, so Axel grabs her and jumps into the water. The falling debris pushes them down, and when Doug and Leland reach their location with the boat, they think that they cannot be rescued. However, Axel sees a missile falling towards them, and he activates it to move to the surface quickly. With that, the rescue mission is a success and everyone heads home, but Chris keeps staring at the burning oil rig with nostalgia and pain in her eyes. A couple days later, Chris wakes up in her room at the base of Team Lazarus, with Elena sitting next to her. Chris is still recovering from all the whooping she got when she was arrested, but she thanks Elena for rescuing her. She then shifts her attention to a cat that has always been hanging around their headquarters and says that even though it hasn't warmed up to anyone, they might as well consider her a part of the team. On the other hand, Doug and Axel are out for grocery shopping, and just as Axel returns with the groceries, Doug turns off all the recording devices in the car so that they can have a private chat. Axel immediately says that if he is going to ask him out on a date, he is going to get turned down, but Doug tells him that he has something more important to discuss. He asks Axel if he thinks that they will really get the freedom they were promised if they catch Skinner. Axel replies that it might be possible, but on the other hand, they know too much about the secrets of the higher-ups, and it is more likely that they will be disposed of once their job is done. Doug agrees with him, saying that they made Lazarus a separate unit from the NSA so that clearing all records of their existence will be easier, and they might already be planning about what to do next. Turns out, he is right on the money, because currently, a meeting is being held in the Pentagon to discuss the fate of Team Lazarus. The council who know about it say that Team Lazarus was formed to capture Skinner, but not only have they failed to do anything till now, they have created more problems than they have solved. They instigated a public shootout on their first day itself and then became the cause of a helicopter crash, a fire in a cult compound, and recently, they burned down a Russian oil rig. They think that Team Lazarus is a liability, and they have evidence about an Eastern European military helicopter dropping them near the oil rig. Hirsch gets nervous on seeing this, but her boss says nothing to defend the team. The council further adds that one member of Lazarus is a former Russian spy, and they can't trust her because she might be selling information to her country. The other members join in, saying that they don't even know if Lazarus is working to find Skinner, and before Hirsch can say anything to help the situation, another guy raises his hand and says that he has a way to reveal the truth. He says that his team made contact with a member of Lazarus, and he is ready to testify in front of the council about the actions his team has taken so far and how they are connected to finding Skinner. The council gives him permission to bring in the guy as witness, and it turns out that Leland is the witness, leaving Hirsch aghast. Leland is brought before the council, who question him about his association with Lazarus before moving on to the interrogation. They first ask him about their latest mission in the Arctic, and how it was related to finding Skinner. Leland says that the mission was to rescue Chris, and it had nothing to do with Skinner. The council finds a solid chance to put Team Lazarus down, as they say that the incident that has caused international tension was just Lazarus acting on their own to rescue a member. Leland affirms, but he also says that Chris is important to their mission, and they needed her back in the team to catch Skinner eventually. The council asks if he really thinks that it was worth causing international conflict to rescue just one member, and Leland replies that right now, finding Skinner is more important than any conflict. Suddenly, the guy who brought Leland in starts questioning him. He first asks if the members of Team Lazarus are working on any other project besides finding Skinner, and Leland replies that they are not. The man then asks him about Axel because all they know about him is that he was in prison before, but they don't know the details about his rap sheet. Leland says that he doesn't know the details either, but he has heard from Axel that he has a hobby of breaking out of prisons, and someone might have erased the details to hide that fact. With that, the council asks Leland to step down because they have reached a verdict. They declare that no matter what their intentions were, Team Lazarus has caused many problems, and it must be held responsible for that. However, before they can pass judgment, a man comes running inside the room, telling everyone that Skinner has just released a new video. The video is immediately played on the screens all around the world, and Skinner says that it has been 20 days since his previous message, but no one has found him yet. He accuses the governments all around the globe for not taking the extinction of humanity seriously, because they are paying more attention to territorial conflicts in the Arctic than finding him. Skinner then drops another bombshell, saying that the first guy who took Hapna will die in 10 days, and he is that guy. He declares that if they can't find him within 10 days, there will be no hope for humanity. The people around the world are shocked that Skinner has not taken the antidote yet, but he tells them that the fate of humanity is still in their hands. His message ends with that, and Hirsch's boss starts laughing, saying that Skinner just said everything he was about to say to the council. He gets up and tells the council that this meeting is the most stupid thing they could do right now. He asks them what is even the point of sabotaging each other, when they should be cooperating to find Skinner. He declares that his team has the best chance of finding him. He asks the council if they disband Lazarus, and no one can find Skinner, who is going to take responsibility for that. The council is a bit divided on the matter, but in the end, they give permission for Team Lazarus to resume operations for 10 more days, because after that, there is no point anymore. With that, the meeting ends, and the guy who brought Leland in says that Axel is the serial prison escaper he has been looking for, and they need to catch him at all costs. On the other hand, Leland comes to meet Hirsch and her boss Abel outside the Pentagon. Hirsch welcomes him by sucker punching him in the gut, and says that she was ready to kill him when he started his testimony that showed Team Lazarus in bad light. However, as it turns out, all of this was part of Abel's plan, and he had told Leland to act like he was spying for the guy so that he could fool him. Abel tells Hirsch that he kept it a secret from her to make sure that it doesn't look like an act, and she realizes that he could trust Leland because he was friends with his dad. Meanwhile, Axel and Doug return to the base and begin discussing how screwed they are because Skinner is going to be the first person to die. As they wonder what to do next, Chris and Elena also come there to discuss their next step. Doug says that they don't even have a clue about where to start when Elena suddenly takes out a pill from her shirt that she found while doing laundry. She asks Doug to look into it, and he asks her what is this. She replies that she found it when they were searching Skinner's home, and she had forgotten all about it till now. Just then, Leland also returns to the base, and he feels ashamed to show his face to his teammates. On the other hand, the guy named Schneider who tried to lure Leland to his side is waiting for an assassin who will capture Axel for him. At the exact time of the appointment, a man in a black overcoat comes there and introduces himself as the agent of the assassin named Sawyer. He doesn't care about the identity of Schneider or his friend, and the only thing he needs is details about the target and the payment. Before that, Schneider wants to know about Sawyer because he has only heard stories about how he is like a ghost whom no one has seen. The agent says that he doesn't know anything about him either, and to be honest, he has never seen Sawyer in person himself. However, he guarantees that Sawyer always succeeds in any task he takes. Schneider is okay with that, and he asks the agent about the fees for the task. The agent replies that Sawyer charges $30 million, tax-free per job, and if they are too broke to pay that much, there will be no negotiations. Schneider is okay with the amount, but his friend is not, and he says that he can't pay this much for a shady guy when they have no proof that he can complete the task. The agent says that if they want to proceed with the test, he has no problem. But neither he nor Sawyer will be held responsible for what happens during the test. Schneider accepts his conditions and says that they will make the full payment after the test is done, and the agent tells them to find the location of the test at the back of his card. That night, Schneider sends a team of special forces to the location of the test, telling them that their only mission is to capture their target dead or alive. The special force guys laugh, thinking that sending them all just to capture one guy is overkill, and they will be home in 5 minutes. However, the guy named Sawyer sees them coming, and he gets ready to fend off some intruders to show his skills. Soon, the special force squad breaks into his room, which is completely empty except for a metronome, as one of the soldiers goes to the balcony to check it out. He gets pulled up by a sharp steel loop around his neck. The other soldiers get alert on seeing this and immediately move towards the balcony, but then one of them gets attacked with a knife. Everyone immediately opens fire, but there is nothing actually in front of them to shoot. As they take a break and decide to move ahead, Sawyer uses the steel rope to control a soldier into shooting his teammates, and then kills him by tightening the loop. He then joins the fight himself, using his overwhelming skill to quickly kill all the soldiers. The remaining soldiers slowly move towards the room on hearing the gunshots, but Sawyer comes outside first, swiftly dealing with them while avoiding their gunfire. It doesn't take him too long to finish the entire squad, and when a backup member goes inside to see what is happening, he is horrified to see the massacre that took place in the building. The agent also arrives there just then and calls Schneider, showing him proof of what Sawyer did to the soldiers he sent. Schneider says that he passed the test and immediately sends the payment as well as a picture of Axel, telling the agent that this man is their target. Soon, only 6 days are left till Skinner's prophecy comes true, and the entire world starts panicking harder than ever. What makes the situation worse is that millions of people around the world suddenly catch a severe fever that scientists believe is because of HAPNA. The fever patients flood the hospitals and the government, and media are forced to urge them to stay at home because they are probably going to anyway. Meanwhile, Team Lazarus has finally got the reports from the analysis of the drug that Chris found at Skinner's house. She is eager to learn if it is the cure for HAPNA, but Doug bursts her bubble and tells her that it is just an antiplatelet medicine to prevent blood clots that is used by patients who have artificial hearts. Axel tells Doug to hit pause on his presentation and then turns to Hirsch, asking if Skinner has an artificial heart. She replies that he struggled from a heart condition, but she never knew anything about him having an artificial one. Axel says that he might have gotten one in the last 3 years, and Elena immediately pulls up records of all the people who got an artificial heart transplant in the last 3 years. Unfortunately, there is no match for Skinner among the patients in the list, and Doug wonders how could he have got one without getting noticed. Axel says that he might have gotten a genius underground surgeon to help him, but Chris tells him to stop being Delulu because such things only happen in anime. Hirsch has a better idea. She says that Skinner might have gotten a heart transplant at an elite hospital that guarantees total privacy to its patients in exchange for a very high fee. However, she says that there is no public information about the hospital and a direct referral is the only way to get in. Elena can't find anything about it either, and the rest of the group starts wondering if the hospital is even real. Just then, Leland leaves the room and suits up before returning. Everyone is impressed because he looks like a rich brat now, and Leland just asks Axel and Doug to come along with him because he might have a way to get them into the secret hospital. Soon, Doug drives the three of them to a really vast and luxurious estate, and everyone seems to treat Leland like a VIP there. Once they reach a huge palace-like house, an old butler comes running to welcome Leland, saying that he had been waiting for him all this time. Doug asks Leland if this palace is actually his home, but the butler tells him that a cab driver doesn't need to know that. He points towards the exit, but Leland tells him that the two guys are not drivers but his friends, and he has been staying with them. The butler immediately apologizes and welcomes them to the Astor family mansion. Once they are inside the palace, Axel asks what is the deal with the Astor family. Doug is surprised he doesn't know them because they used to be really powerful nobles back in the day, and even today, they are one of the richest and the most influential families in the world. Soon, they reach a waiting room where Axel and Doug feel really out of place. Just then, Leland's sister comes there and starts throwing shade at him, saying that it has been so long since he ran away from the house that she forgot his face. He doesn't respond to her taunts, and says that he is here to ask for a favor, but that pisses Isabella even more. She asks Leland how dare he show his face to her after 4 years and then ask for favors. She reminds him of all the things that he screwed up and Leland apologizes, but then he asks her to introduce him to the members-only healing society that their family uses. Isabella gives judgmental stares to Doug and Axel, who start feeling uneasy and then turns to Leland, saying that it is such a pity that the only man in the Astor family is a useless wimp like him. She begins cursing the patriarchy because only a man can inherit the family title and wealth according to their rules, and she thinks that her father should have done the smart thing and abolished that rule before croaking. Leland suggests Isabella that she should get married because that way she can inherit the family name and property, but that pisses her like nothing else. She begins yeeting pillows at him, telling him about the horrible experiences she had with the long list of suitors. Her crash out doesn't end there, and she starts crying as she slaps Leland, telling him that he has no idea how much she suffered because of him. She then stops abruptly, telling him that it is time he takes the position as the Astor family head because then he wouldn't need to ask her for any favor. Everyone is shocked at this, but it is Leland's turn to crash out. He calls his sister a hypocrite for treating him like a parasite all these years, and now that their dad and elder brother are dead, she wants him to take over the family. He says that because he was an illegitimate child, his dad was never there for him, and he didn't even show up for his mother's funeral. Isabella tells him to stop bitching about it now, because no one is left to care if he is a legitimate heir or not. She asks him to take the title of the family head or get lost forever, and with that, she storms out. Axel is really confused after witnessing this entire drama, and he asks Doug what was even the point of Leland inviting them here. Doug believes that he wanted them to see what life is really like for him. The butler who witnessed the entire drama tries to console Leland, telling him that despite everything Isabella just said, she was really looking forward to seeing him again. Leland doesn't reply and Axel and Doug think that they should leave now, but just then, Isabella returns, and they quickly sit back. Isabella walks up to Leland and says that she never meant this conversation to go this way. She tells him that when she saw him coming, she told herself that won't argue today, but she couldn't control her emotions earlier. She agrees to give him the information he needs, but in exchange, she asks him to spend one full weekend with her because he is the only family she has got left, and if the world is going to end in a few days, she would like to spend some time with him. Leland tells her that he accepts her offer and promises that he will come back here next Sunday to spend some time with her. Isabella asks him what the hell is he talking about because by the next Sunday, humanity will be doomed. Leland decides to reveal the truth to her, and says that he is asking for an introduction to the medical society so that they can stop humanity from going extinct, and she has got to trust him on this one. Isabella trusts him and lets him make an appointment with the secret hospital. Leland rushes there immediately, and on seeing him, the doctor tells the receptionist to cancel all her appointments for today because they are all patients who want her to do something about Hapna. She takes Leland and friends to her waiting room, where he asks her if Skinner underwent any heart surgery at this hospital. The doctor is glad that he asked this question because she had been itching to share this secret to someone because the future of humanity depends on this. She checks the records and verifies that Skinner got an artificial heart transplant at the hospital, and he was looking good after the operation. Usually, artificial hearts can never be fully trusted and the hospital has the duty to monitor it all the time to make sure it is working properly. Hearing this gets the boys' hope up because they think that they can track the heart to find Skinner, but the doctor tells them that it is not possible. Just as Skinner got discharged, he encrypted the signal that the artificial heart was supposed to send to the hospital, and they could no longer trace him. She says that they don't even know if Skinner is alive at this point, but then gives a device with the data about the artificial heart. She says that they can find something useful from analyzing it because it might be possible that some third party is still monitoring Skinner's heart. After that, Axel and others prepare to leave, but the doctor stops Leland, telling him that even though his dad never spent any time with him, he used to talk about him a lot, and he actually cared for him. She also tells him that it was unfortunate that he died in an accident, but Leland survived, and that has to mean something. Meanwhile, Hirsch goes to meet her boss Abel, who has a surprising video footage for her. He tells her that it is from the day a terrorist attack took place at an airport in Europe, and Hirsch clearly remembers that because it was a big deal. She asks Abel how does he have all of it was confiscated by Interpol, and he tells her that an internal whistleblower leaked it recently. He plays the video, and to Hirsch's surprise Skinner is present in the airport minutes before the terrorist attack happened. She wonders what is going on, and soon, the Interpol forces come there to take down the terrorist. The airport police also rush into action, and Skinner gets caught in the middle. Just then, because of a bag falling on the ground, one police officer reflexively shoots ahead, and immediately, everyone begins shooting at Skinner. A few bullets hit his suitcase, releasing a gas, and the video ends with that. Hirsch falls on a chair in shock as she realizes the truth of what happened at the airport that day. Abel confirms her doubts, saying that it was never a terrorist attack, but something else entirely. He says that Skinner was trying to smuggle an early prototype of Hapna from the lab to expose it to the world, and that was the smoke that got released from his bag. That smoke killed all the soldiers nearby and even some civilians, and the Interpol covered the incident as a terrorist attack. Hirsch replies that Skinner never mentioned anything about the incident, but he clearly survived it. However, when he returned to the research center a couple months later, his personality had completely changed, and he distanced himself from everyone. Abel adds that 6 months after that, another prototype of Hapna was found in the prison where Axel was being held at that time. He explains that at that time, the prison was forcing everyone on death row or with a life sentence to undergo trials for new medicines, and Axel was one of the test subjects. They both believe that he was a test subject for the Hapna prototype, but there are no records about it at all. The only person who might know the results of the trials is the jail doctor, and Hirsch fears that someone might try to dispose of him on purpose. Meanwhile, Axel and the boys return back to their base, and Leland thanks them for being there with him. He decides to tell them that he was a spy, but Axel and Doug already knew about it, but they tell him that it is no big deal because everyone has secrets. Leland starts crying on hearing this, and then they head inside. While Elena analyzes the data on the artificial heart, and finds the location at which it is being monitored, Axel gets a call from Hirsch, telling him to find the prison doctor and keep him safe. He leaves on the mission immediately, and shortly after that, Elena finds that Skinner's heart is being monitored at a location in Pakistan, which is where the genius hacker Popcorn Wizard is based. Doug says that he will immediately contact the local police, but Elena tells him that Popcorn Wizard will immediately flee if the police start chasing her. The only way to catch her is for Elena to go there herself, and she tells Doug that she knows all the risks involved. She says that this is their last chance, so she is ready to risk it all, and he tells her that he will come along with her to ensure her safety. Meanwhile, as Axel drives to the prison doctor's location, Hirsch tells him that he was part of a trial for a prototype of Hapna while at prison. Axel is shocked to learn this, and Hirsch says the other inmates who were in the trial are probably already dead, and he doesn't know this because he escaped the prison shortly after the trial ended. She asks him to find the prison doctor and keep him safe because he is their only lead, but neither of them knows that Axel might need someone to keep him safe as well, because the assassin Soryu is ready to make his move now. While Axel is talking with Hirsch, Soryu jumps down from an overhead bridge right into the middle of the traffic. He throws a grenade on the highway, creating a huge explosion that stops the traffic and then begins moving towards his target. On the other side, Doug and Elena land in Pakistan and begin their search for Popcorn Wizard. Elena says that she is not moving right now, but if they get close to her, she might run away just like she did last time. Doug suddenly notices that Elena's face is flushing red, and he asks her if she is feeling alright. He reminds her that a fever can be a symptom of Hapna, but Elena lies to him that her body temperature is alright. Just then, they notice that Popcorn has started moving, and Doug tells Elena that they will chase her to the end of the earth. Meanwhile, at the base of Team Lazarus, Hirsch gets a call about a unit of a special forces group called INSCOM heading to Pakistan. Chris and Leland immediately realize that the special forces are targeting Doug and Elena. Hirsch affirms, saying that they might be close to discovering something that the government and army don't want them to find out. She decides to talk to the INSCOM about the matter and hands Leland an envelope, telling him to give it to a man who will arrive here shortly. Back at the bridge, Axel is confused about what is happening, but Soryu slowly walks towards him. Just as he spots Axel and confirms that he is his target, Axel also realizes something is off. Soryu begins leaping over cars to get to him, and then shoots the car's windshield multiple times. Luckily, the bulletproof glass keeps Axel safe, and he steps on the accelerator to slam his car into the vehicles in front of him. The impact is enough to throw Soryu down, and Axel runs into the traffic to hide. Soryu keeps firing at him, and then corners him at the divider line. Axel decides to run into the traffic, confident in his skills to dodge everything. But then Soryu throws a grenade on the highway, blowing up cars and causing utter chaos. Axel curses the trigger-happy bastard as he climbs to the side of the bridge, but Soryu finds him there and takes aim at him. Axel simply jumps off from the bridge and uses a truck as his landing platform, but the assassin is not far behind either, and he decides to stop relying on weapons and throw hands instead. At the same time, Hirsch reaches the INSCOM headquarters and demands to talk to Schneider, while Abel reaches Team Lazarus base, complaining that he can't reach Hirsch. Leland gives him the envelope she left behind, but Chris is confused about who this Baldy is. Abel introduces himself as the founder of the Lazarus project, and Leland affirms that, back at Axel's location, the assassin is giving him a hard time. Axel can only block and run away from his attacks, but then Soryu throws a sticky grenade towards him. Axel jumps to another truck just before the grenade explodes, setting the entire road on fire. The two men reach a billboard and Soryu throws a knife tied with a steel thread towards Axel, who easily catches it. He has got used to the assassin's tactics by now, and he is able to deflect the grenades Soria throws at him without any difficulty. Meanwhile, in the Special Forces base, Schneider comes out to meet Hirsch, who gets straight to business and asks him to tell his men in Pakistan to stand down. She threatens to reveal all his dirty secrets to the world if he doesn't cooperate with her, but Schneider acts like he doesn't know anything at all. Hirsch tells him that she knows about the illegal drug trials they conducted on life row inmates at an Arizona prison. She says that while all of them died, leaving behind no proof, there was one guy who survived and escaped the prison. She tells him that Axel, the survivor, is currently working for her, and if she wants, she can reveal the dirty secrets of Inscom to the world. On hearing this, Schneider's assistant immediately goes to check something, but the smug bastard tells Hirsch that she has some faulty information because they did nothing like she said. He says that she must really care about her subordinates if she is willing to fight with him over fake news, and then says that may Axel live a long and healthy life to help her fight her stupid case. Hirsch suddenly realizes that Schneider is planning something else as well, and she gives him one last chance to stand down. She wants to know why is he sabotaging their plans to find Skinner and save the world, but Schneider doesn't answer her question. Just then, his assistant returns and Schneider tells Hirsch that they are going to detain her for just some nonsensical reasons, but she was always prepared for this. The message she has left behind for Abel says that she is going to stop Inscom from chasing after Doug and Elena, but she is also expecting to be detained by them. Since they have no message from her, Abel is sure that she has been detained, and this worries Leland and Chris. They ask Abel what should they do now, but then he gets a call from his assistant about the explosions that are rattling the city currently. She sends him some clips of the explosions and the two men at the center of everything, and everyone is shocked to see Axel there. Chris and Leland wonder why is he fighting when he was sent to secure a witness, and they wonder who is attacking him. Abel has no idea about it, and his secretary tells him that they don't have any information on the attacker in the NSA database. Suddenly, Abel realizes that the attacker is none other than the phantom assassin whom no one has ever seen before, and he must have been hired by Inscom to hide their filthy secrets. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, Doug and Elena head into a rural area and find that Popcorn Wizard is about 20 minutes away from their location. Doug decides to engage Elena in small talk, asking her what will be the first thing she does if they find Skinner and save the world. She tells him that she will go to McDonald's and eat everything on the menu, and Doug tells her that he will join her. Just then, they notice someone following them and Doug decides to stall the pursuers so that Elena can find Popcorn's location. She is not really sure if she can manage that alone, but Doug pulls out his trusted revolver, saying that it is time for him to be the badass. Back at the base, Abel tells the kids more about the phantom assassin and his feats, and Chris decides to go and support Axel. Abel gives her the permission to use any weapon she can, and in the meantime, he decides to rescue Hirsch. Leland wants to come with Chris too, but both she and Abel tell him to stay at the headquarters and keep it safe in their absence. With that, Chris rides out on her bike to find Axel and bring him back alive. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, Doug stops his car and surrenders before the pursuers, because that will buy them more time. The pursuers come out of their car and immediately find that Doug's partner is gone. They smack the shit out of him, but then one of them notices Elena escaping on her scooter. They decide to follow her, and Doug jumps in front of their car to try and stop it. He just gets hit to the side, but then he pulls out his revolver and shoots the car's tire, causing it to crash and explode. Doug loses consciousness with that, and Elena decides to keep moving ahead to complete her mission. She soon reaches the town following Popcorn Wizard's location, but runs into a dead end. As she tries to find a way to the other side, her fever starts overwhelming her. She still keeps moving somehow and finds that Popcorn Wizard is really close to her. Just then, an excessively decorated van passes her, and she realizes that it is her target. She starts running after it frantically, and the van stops on seeing her pathetic condition. Elena manages to catch up to it, and Popcorn Wizard comes out to see what is going on. She recognizes Elena as another elite hacker, and then suddenly, Elena collapses because of exhaustion. Back in the city, Axel is still on the run from the assassin, but he gets hit by his knife and loses his balance. He barely hangs on to an overhead train, but Soryu arrives there, ready to drop a grenade on him. Axel just laughs at this, telling the assassin that death is like an old friend to him, and he runs into her every couple of months. Soryu doesn't care about his edgy poetry and drops the bomb on him, but Axel simply kicks it back, hitting the roof and knocking Soryu out with the explosion, but he also gets thrown into the river. He finds a boat and climbs into it, but to his surprise Soryu is already there as well. Axel gets back on his feet, saying that they are probably going to be at it all night long. He tells Soryu to attack, and when he doesn't do anything, Axel picks up a hook and rushes towards him. Soryu grabs an iron pole to fight back, but Axel manages to disarm him and pin him to the ground. As the assassin starts getting pummeled, he notices the lucky charm Axel wears, and that suddenly brings back some intense memories from his past. He remembers his training in the assassin's school, telling him to forget his identity and become a faceless monster. He pushes Axel back and then asks why does he have the Hunden's wing with him. Axel doesn't even get what this man is talking about when their boat crashes into the port. Axel uses this chance to grab a knife and run away, and Soryu follows him with a harpoon, but he is forced to stop as his memories start weighing down on his mind. He remembers a story from Chinese mythology about a creature called Hundun, who didn't have a face, and the people pitied him for this. They tried drilling holes into it to give it a face, but that only hurt the creature. However, he doesn't remember how the story ended, and that combined with his traumatic childhood leaves his brain in shambles. Just then, Chris finds Axel, and she rushes to help him. Back at the port, Soryu snaps out of his nightmare as Axel throws the knife at him. He instinctively throws the harpoon at him, and both of them get hit. While the knife stabs Soryu's leg, the harpoon goes through Axel's stomach, and he falls on the ground, bleeding out. Soryu doesn't care about his mission anymore, because he wants to know what happened to the Hundun after people drilled holes in it. He begs Axel to tell him the end of the story, but Chris arrives there just then and starts shooting him. Thanks to her stormtrooper aim, Soryu doesn't get hit, and it gives him the chance to jump into the river. Chris chases after him and shoots the water in desperation, and then she rushes to Axel's side, who has lost a lot of blood. Thanks to Leland's help, Chris takes Axel to the super elite hospital to receive treatment, and the doctor patches him up as best as she can. She tells Chris that it is all up to Axel now, but she is quite surprised that he still survived after losing that much blood. On the other hand, Elena wakes up inside Popcorn Wizard's den, who is really impressed that she managed to track her down. She fist bumps her to congratulate her on making it all the way here, and then says that she always wanted to see her face to face. She tells Elena that her real name is Lynn, and she is the first one to learn about it. Suddenly, Elena remembers that Doug was in danger too, and she quickly checks his vitals through the armband to find that he is still alive. Turns out, he is being kept under watch at an INSCOM facility, and he soon comes to his senses. He reaches out for his glasses, but as the people from INSCOM come there, he pretends to be asleep. He thinks that it is better that INSCOM is keeping him alive because that means he still has the chance to resume his mission. Meanwhile, Hirsch is still imprisoned and Abel decides to meet the president and try to get an executive order to help her and Team Lazarus. His assistant doesn't even think that it is possible, but he says that they must try everything they can. In the meantime, he asks her to dig for information on the assassin Soryu, because he believes that Soryu is related to this case in more than one way. Soon after that, Axel wakes up, and as soon as he sees Chris, he starts telling her about the dream he just had. He says that he always keeps on seeing this particular dream where he is slowly sinking into the afterlife, but then an angel comes and rescues him. He asks Chris if she is the angel who saved him this time, and she replies that she did indeed save him. But he could not be more wrong about the angel part. Axel then asks her about the assassin, and she tells him that he got away, even though he was quite injured physically and mentally. Axel is glad to hear that, and he tells Chris that he has been on death's doorsteps many times before, but this was the first time he needed someone else to save him. He thanks her for that again, and just then the doctor comes there, telling him that she is still surprised that he recovered from his condition. She tells him that he sure took his time to wake up, because she feared that he might sleep through the end of the world. Axel suddenly realizes that he left his mission incomplete and tries to get up, only to hurt himself. The doctor and Chris tell him to rest because the witness he was supposed to protect was found dead in his room. At the same time, Abel goes to the White House to meet the President of the United States, who is in a critical condition because of Hapna fever. He gets straight to the point and tells her that he needs 2 favors from her. Back at the base, Leland is trying to cozy up to the stray cat that always lurks around the place, when Abel's secretary Elizabeth arrives there along with a familiar face that Leland didn't want to see. It is Visionary, also known as Dr. 909, the genius hacker who they arrested earlier for hacking into the database of a company for insider trading. Leland gasps on seeing the DJ who tried to take advantage of him when he was cross-dressing, and even Visionary feels that he looks familiar. Anyway, Elizabeth tells Leland that Visionary has agreed to help them in exchange of a reduced sentence, and takes him to the hacking rig to do his work. Meanwhile in Pakistan, Elena quickly becomes friend with Lynn and they talk about how they have been creating history through their work. They laugh about their most outrageous jobs and then Elena confronts Lynn, asking why is she helping Skinner despite knowing that he is using Hapna to destroy the world. Lynn tells her that she was born on an island near Maldives and the people there were unable to feel pain. She kicks her van hard to prove it to Elena and says that one day, Skinner came to their island to research their unique DNA, and that is how she first met him. She says that the island was going to sink into the ocean soon, but the people were so poor that they could do nothing about it. However, Skinner brought the island from them, giving them enough money to relocate to safe locations. Lynn was in awe of Skinner, and she promised to do anything she could to help him, and Elena tries telling her to at least think about the consequences. Lynn replies that she doesn't know what Skinner is planning, but she believes that he is not a person who will doom all of humanity. Back in the hospital, Axel tells Chris that Soryu talked about something called Hundun, and he wanted to know how the story ends. Chris googles the name and says that Hundun dies from the hole people drill into it, but she can't believe that Axel and the assassin were talking about this while fighting. He tells her that she won't understand it since it is a guy thing and Chris gives up. She tells him to nominate someone as his emergency contact in case he dies, and Axel tells her that he doesn't have anyone just like her. He says that he was always an orphan, but he had some close friends who were practically his family. They went into some shady business to survive, but then his friends got killed and he was devastated. He swore that he would never let anyone get close to him again, and he left every place he ever went to before he could get too attached. However, he says that he likes being with Team Lazarus, and then abruptly falls asleep. Meanwhile, Abel asks the president to give NSA permission to raid Inscom and she agrees, saying that it might be the last thing she does as a president. She reveals that she has gone blind, with her eyes turning into a starry sky, which is an in-game symptom of Hapna. Abel promises that he will catch Skinner in time, and the president wishes him luck before asking about the second favor he wants. Back at the base, Visionary tries to find information about Soryu, but the only thing he can find is a video of his agent with Schneider. Elizabeth thinks that this might not be enough, and she decides to change their approach and tells Visionary to start looking into the agent instead. At the same time, the agent calls Schneider to curse him out because the mission to kill Axel unraveled his entire existence. He swears that he doesn't care about the mission anymore, and he will kill him, and then ends the call. Schneider's friend tells him that this is all his fault for hiring someone they don't even know to kill Axel, and he decides to reveal the truth to the president and hold Schneider accountable, when he gets a call from Abel. At the same time, in Pakistan, Lynn tells Elena that Skinner told her to reveal his location to anyone who tracked her down. Turns out, Skinner is in the same city as their base, and he has been staying there all this time. At the hospital, Chris gets a call from Elizabeth, asking her to return to the base so that she can identify the assassin's face. She replies that she will be there as soon as she can, and then turns to Axel, saying that they only have 24 hours before Skinner's doomsday prophecy comes true, which means this could be their last time seeing each other. She asks Axel if he has any regrets, and he tells her that he doesn't. He then asks her the same question, and Chris suddenly kisses him, telling him goodbye. Meanwhile, at Inscom headquarters, Schneider kills his friend, and when the soldiers arrive there, he tells them that the guy was planning treason, and tried silencing him when he found out about it. He tells the soldiers that he had to kill him in self-defense, and asks them to protect the evidence because he needs to go somewhere urgently. Back at Lazarus base, Leland is waiting at the gate for Chris, and he quickly leads her to the hacking room. She is surprised to see Visionary there, but Elizabeth tells her there is no time for this. She asks her to look at the agent and tell her if she has seen the guy before. Chris is confident that he is the assassin she saw the other day, and Elizabeth was actually anticipating that. She says that the assassin Soryu is probably suffering from dissociative identity disorder like Moon Knight, and his violent personality comes out in the open whenever the right conditions are met. Chris adds that according to Axel, Soryu was talking about a called Hundun, and that sends Elizabeth into a state of panic because she knows about the Hundun program to train assassins. Meanwhile, Abel reaches Inscom base with his soldiers, and Schneider and his troops come out to face them. Abel tells them that he has got an executive order from the president to raid the Inscom headquarters and arrest people who are likely to destroy the evidence of their wrongdoing. He asks Schneider to lead him to his military friend, unaware that he is already dead. At the same time, the Inscom troops in Pakistan receive orders to eliminate Doug, and they shoot him in his hospital bed without even bothering to see if he is under the blanket. They panic when they don't find him and start searching for him everywhere, and Doug lies in ambush, waiting for them to come close. However, the sprinklers suddenly turn on, confusing everyone, and the very next moment, Doug's hospital bed starts speeding away on its own thanks to Lynn, who is controlling it from her base. She brings Doug outside the hospital and tells him to get inside her van, because they have got work to do. Doug and Elena contact the rest of the team, telling them that Skinner is in the homeless settlement in their city, and they must find him quickly. Chris says that the area is too big, and Axel, who is the only person with contacts there, is out of commission right now. Doug decides to try and contact Jill himself to look for Skinner. He decides to return to the US immediately, but Elena tells him that Inscom will already be looking out for them. Doug tells her that he has made arrangements to avoid that already, and part of his plan involves driving into a closed road and jumping off an incomplete bridge right in front of the airport. They then go to the hypersonic shuttle service that was about to be opened soon but got delayed because of Hapna. Doug has already contacted the engineers for permission to use it. Lynn gives Elena a toy phone that she can use to directly contact her, and then she gives her a big hug, wishing her success in her mission. Meanwhile, Axel receives a text message that says, "See you where the angel watches." The doctor reads the text and thinks that it is an invitation for a date, but she tells Axel that he is not going to make it out of the hospital bed for a few days and by then the world will have ended. She thinks that at least it is romantic that someone wants to see Axel where the angel watches, and he doubts that he will go to heaven after the life he has lived. On the other hand, Abel and his forces are still in a standoff with Schneider and his men. Abel tells Schneider that he knows that Inscom is guilty of conducting illegal and dangerous experiments by taking Hapna's prototype and turning it into a lethal bioweapon. He says that the NSA knows that when Skinner found out about Inscom's schemes, he tried to leak the information to the world. Inscom created a story of a terrorist attack to apprehend him, and in a clash with the local police, their deadly prototype was released in the airport, killing dozens of people. They may have swept that story under the rug by calling it a terrorist attack, but now the truth is going to be revealed to the world. Abel then steps ahead and puts a handcuff around Schneider's wrist, saying that he is their main suspect in this case. Schneider can't believe it, and he tells Abel that he was doing his job to protect his country from enemies who would use bioweapons against them. He says he should be treated as a hero instead of a criminal, and Abel tells him that he should save those things for his court-martial. However, Schneider is still confident that they won't have any proof against him, because Axel will soon be killed. Abel doesn't care about his mind games and storms the INSCOM headquarters, freeing Hirsch and telling her that they have found Skinner's location. She can't believe that at all, but Abel asks her to head to Skinner's location right away, and he will join her later. On the other side, the hacker visionary finds a top-secret document related to the Hundun program, but it can only be opened after approval from the President and the Secretary of State. Elizabeth thinks that getting their permission will take all the time in the world, but Visionary replies that he has got her covered, because creating fake permission slips is his specialty. At the same time, Doug and Elena also return to the city through the hyperspeed train, and they immediately borrow a car from the engineers to head to the slums where Skinner is hiding. They join a conference call with Hirsch and others to discuss how they can find Skinner in the vast slums. As they wonder how can they narrow it down, Hirsch suggests that they should look for plants because Skinner loves plants. Just then, Leland recalls the rare variety of tulip that Skinner had gifted his grandmother, and how the same plant was in his abandoned home as well. On the other hand, Visionary cracks open the protected document about the Hundun project and finds testimony by the former Chinese Minister of State Security, who was seeking shelter in the USA at that time. The report also mentions that he was assassinated shortly after giving the testimony, and seeing the contents of the report makes Elizabeth realize that this is exactly what they were looking for. The Hundun project was a secret Chinese operation to create perfect assassins without any identity or emotions. They picked children to be trained for that in an incredibly twisted and ruthless manner, but the project had to be abandoned after one of their most successful trainees snapped and killed everyone else in the project. On the other side, Chris receives a call from the doctor, informing her that Axel has escaped the hospital. Both of them are worried about him, and the doctor thinks that he probably went to the place where the angel watches. Chris doesn't exactly know what that means, but she decides to find him and keep him safe because he is still seriously injured. Turns out Axel is climbing the main monument of the city, the Babylonia Tower, that has the statue of an angel on top. INSCOM gets information about this through the security cams, and they immediately dispatch their forces to take him down, telling the public to get away from the tower because there is a terrorist on the roof. Unaware of this, Axel reaches the tower's rooftop, where the assassin Soria has been waiting for him with a rocket launcher. Axel jokes that he brought too much firepower to kill an injured guy, and Soria doesn't find that funny. He declares that he will kill him at all costs, and Axel tells him to ask any questions he wants answered before that. Soria starts attacking him instead of talking, and Axel can only dodge his attacks. He still gets kicked around a bit, and his injuries start to hurt like hell, but he gets up to fight again. He is no match for Soria in his injured state and keeps getting manhandled, but then suddenly, the assassin's PTSD takes over his mind. He starts sweating and panicking as he hears his teacher's voice in his head, telling him to get rid of his identity and his emotions. He once again asks Axel how the story of Hundun ends after people drill holes into its face, but doesn't give him the chance to answer. Soria throws his knife tied to a steel thread towards Axel, restraining his hand and pinning him against the railing. The images of his horrific past start bubbling up in his mind, and he remembers the massacre at his school. The last thing he remembers is his injured teacher praising him for becoming a true monster, before using a secret technique to wipe his memory because he deemed him too dangerous to be set free. Just then, the INSCOM chopper comes there and starts shooting at them, and Soria is forced to push Axel to the side so that they can escape the attack. They both hide from the chopper and Soria picks up his rocket launcher, but he can't find the right chance to attack. However, Axel suddenly gets out in the open to pull the attention of the chopper, and the pilot takes a moment to shoot because of some birds flying in front of him. Using this chance, Soria shoots at the helicopter, making it lose its balance and drift to the side. The burning helicopter hits the building and explodes, dislodging the angel statue from its place. The statue begins falling down and destroying the building in the process, and both Axel and Soria are thrown off. While Soria somehow holds onto a pipe using his steel threads, Axel uses his skills to jump through the falling rubble. He manages to survive the fall, but when he gets to the ground, he finds Soria buried under a thick slab of concrete. Axel simply sits next to him, telling him the answer to his question. He says that 7 days after the Hundun has holes drilled in it to make a face, it dies. Soria says that he remembers it now, and he wonders if he is no longer a monster now because he has his memory back. He dies instantly after that, but just then, Chris arrives there and finds Axel. Seeing that he looks fine, she tells him to hop on because they have found Skinner's location, and he should be there when they capture him. At the same time, Abel finishes his job at the INSCOM headquarters and decides to join the rest of the team in the search for Skinner. He checks the status of all of them, and Elena says that she had a heparin-induced fever, but it somehow got better on its own. She does not understand how it is possible, so Abel decides to share some secrets that are directly related to the formation of Team Lazarus. He tells them that the US Army was trying to create bioweapons using Skinner's research through INSCOM, but he was really against it. However, since no one would listen to him, he decided to leak the proof to the world, but INSCOM found out about it, and they sent their troops to stop him. Because of the clash with the local police at the airport, the dangerous gas in Skinner's suitcase was released, and everyone at the airport came under its effect. Surprisingly, all 5 members of the team were there on that fateful day. While hundreds of people died because of the weaponized Hapna, the 5 of them underwent a mutation that gave them resistance to the wonder drug. Abel says that they all essentially died and then came back to life, just like Lazarus from Christian stories. He says that on seeing them survive, Skinner came up with an idea to expose the truth behind the horrific research to the entire world in a way that no one could cover it up. That is why he created Hapna as a sleeper bioweapon and let the entire world use it. Soon, the team members reach the slums one by one, starting with Leland and Hirsch. Jill is there to welcome them and help them find Skinner, and they show her the rare variety of tulip that only Skinner can have here. Jill says that she has seen that flower and tells them to follow her, and shortly after that, Chris and Axel also arrive there. Coincidentally, the clueless cop who let Axel get away on the first day of his police escape is also there. He tries to arrest him now, but Axel tells him that they have found Skinner's location, but it is too risky to go after him alone. He tells the cop to call for backup because he is the only one who can save the world now, and the gullible man immediately obeys. Meanwhile, Jill leads Hirsch and Leland to Skinner, who came here 3 years ago with nothing but some pots of the tulips. She says that he has really poor eyesight, so she helps him from time to time. She leads them to the riverside where Skinner is sitting in silence, and Hirsch decides to greet him with a gun pointed at him. Skinner is happy to see her, and he says that he would like to see her one last time, but unfortunately, he has been blinded because of the Hapna fever. Hirsch is shocked to see his starry eyes, and she asks why he has not taken the antidote yet. The other members of the team arrive there quickly as well, and Skinner says that he accepts his defeat in the game of hide and seek. He tells Hirsch that she can have the formula for the antidote, and scribbles its chemical structure on a piece of paper. As she collects it, she asks Skinner why did he not tell her anything before taking such a drastic step because she would have come with him no matter the consequences. Skinner replies that he didn't want to bring her down with him. He begins telling her how that incident at the airport made him lose all faith in humanity, and he didn't want her to see him like that. Hirsch says that no matter what he says, she can see that he is still the same man she knew and loved, and Skinner is low-key happy to hear that. Just then, Axel walks up to him, saying that he has a question. Skinner recognizes his voice as the person who visited his grandma, and then Axel asks him if it is a good thing they found him, or would it be better for humanity to have been erased. Skinner tells him to be the judge of that, and then he breathes his last. Hirsch starts crying as she realizes that he has died, and after giving her a moment to mourn, Axel and Doug point their guns at her. They tell her that they know too much about things beyond their pay scale, and it is obvious that the higher-ups won't let them go free. Elena and Chris said that Leland told them everything, including the fact that he was spying on them for Abel. Hirsch sighs, saying that she did indeed receive orders to keep an eye on them originally, but things have changed now. Just then, Abel comes there to prove her right, and he tells everyone that the president has issued an executive order, recognizing their achievement in finding Skinner and exposing its scum. He quickly deactivates their bracelets, telling them that their past criminal records will be completely erased, and they are free to live as they want now. However, Abel says that he doesn't want to let go of such a talented team, and the world has many more problems that need to be solved. He asks them to rejoin Team Lazarus for that, and no one has any objections.